From Columbus, welcome to Fox College Football, sponsored by AT&T Business. On a perfect Saturday for football at Ohio Stadium, two of the great programs in college football. 13 combined national titles between Nebraska and Ohio State as the Buckeyes today try to bounce back.
The Purdue Boilermakers will look to knock off the second-ranked team in the country, the undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes.
Bursting up the middle is Knox. Touchdown!
Blau back to throw. Throws a swing pass. Rondale Moore catches. You can't believe that play that Rondale Moore just made. A 43-yard touchdown pass.
It is intercepted. Bailey punctuates this upset with a pick six.
And so the Buckeyes' perfect season in West Lafayette comes crashing down. Joe Davis, Brady Quinn, Bruce Feldman joins us in a moment. They sit at 7-1. They had a long time to think about it because of the bye. Take us inside Columbus coming into this one.
A little bit of panic. Some people feel as if the sky is falling and maybe this team will not have a chance to play for a national championship. But here's the key. They can't afford to lose another game. At this point, though, I think they're still going to have a shot at getting in the college football playoff if they win the Big Ten and if they get in the top 4. And they still can. Remember, 2014, they were the number 16 seed in the initial rankings, made it all the way up in the number 4, and eventually won a national championship.
My guy here likes quarterbacks, and he's fired up for this matchup today between these two signal callers that start off with Ohio State sophomore Dwayne Haskins, 30 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions this season, leading the number 2 passing offense in the country.
He's been one of the most prolific passers in college football. A little bit of a change up here at Ohio State. They're used to more dual threat type quarterbacks, but here's your prototypical pocket passer, and he can make all the throws. When you watch him, he's got the arm strength. Opposite hash, outside breaking route, on time, on the money. Not many college players can do this, but then it's the touch, in particular the downfield throws. He can throw it with enough arc and pace. He had enough little touch to fit it in those windows. And the thing I like about him the most is he is tough. He moves in the pocket, he steps up, knows he's going to get hit, but still delivers a strike. That's big-time quarterback play.
And on the other side, a true freshman in Adrian Martinez.
Yeah, and he's been so poised, so calm as a true freshman, a true dual-threat quarterback. And he's the reason why there's so much optimism surrounding Nebraska this year because of his level of play, in particular the last 3 weeks.
Nebraska and Ohio State ready to get things going. Full day of football on Fox as we take it a break with our Progressive Insurance game countdown. And we've got the opening kickoff coming up from Columbus.
Boilermakers knock off the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ohio State's a little bit in shambles right now, and it just feels troubled.
They struggle in the red zone offensively, and they really struggle giving up big plays, and they can't run the ball.
We're 7-1. We got to get the chance to be 8-1, but there's shortcomings right now we got to get fixed.
This is a team that doesn't look ready for any type of playoff run.
Once, twice a year, they don't show up. There's no question it's alarming.
Just about set for kick from the horseshoe. We go down to the field now with Bruce Feldman.
Joe, the Buckeyes have had a hard week of practice and have done a lot of soul searching. The word urgency has been used a lot around here this week. Urban Meyer told me the issues have been glaring. On offense, it has been a bad run game and shaky in the red zone. On defense, lots of missed tackles and giving up a lot of big plays. He said, how do you get that fixed? He said it's better pad level from the running backs, being more physical on the O-line, and pay more attention to details on defense. I asked him, do you think you got it all sorted out? Because, well, we're about to find out.
All right, Bruce, coming off of the bye week, coming off of the loss, still alive in the college football playoff hunt, and taking on a Nebraska team looking for a 3rd consecutive win. Off we go from Columbus with a line drive kick. And will bounce out of the end zone, and Nebraska will begin at the 25-yard line. You mentioned Adrian Martinez off of the top. biggest reason for optimism, both in the big picture in this rebuild and today as they try to pull the upset.
And just how early on he's been able to showcase his ability to run Scott Frost's system. He's a true dual threat quarterback. They'll implement some runs for him, and then he'll look to take off and scramble when he's given the opportunity. But he is a smooth operator, from his mechanics and his throwing motion and how calm his feet are in the pocket, but also the way he handles the adjustments of this Nebraska offense.
From the 25-yard line, it is Martinez flipping it for another freshman in Maurice Washington for a short gain. And the first year under Scott Frost, this offense has continued to get better and better each week.
Yeah, and I think that's what you'd want to see. And when he took over this job, I don't think he knew what a big undertaking it would be to change the culture at Nebraska. But you've seen subtle improvements. Some of it's helped, and they've had some people leave the team as well.
Back-to-back runs and a big hole for Divine Ozigbo, who's got a first down near midfield. Ozigbo over the last 5 games more than 120 yards per game as he's moved from really the 3rd or 4th running back on the depth chart to a featured part of this offense.
Yeah, what a story it's been, and it's really a tandem of
4 players in the backfield offense. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
And so this is coming back with the illegal formation.
Yeah, but the precedent's set. Nebraska is going to try to run the football. This has been an issue for Ohio State's defense in stopping the run and allowing some of those big plays, even though it will be negated. But going back to the conversation about Nebraska, 2 running backs, Maurice Washington as well as Divine Ozigbo, both of these guys have their own little niche in their offense, but very effective running the football.
Both in there on 2nd down and 12. Martinez has room to run, and Adrian Martinez gets all those yards back and then some to the 49 on a 26-yard run.
It's funny when you think back when Scott Frost played a lot of triple option. This is essentially a triple option just from the shotgun when you look at Nebraska's offense and how it operates.
From the 47-yard line. A couple big plays already against this Ohio State defense. On 1st and 10, he looks short side and lets it go for Stanley Morgan, who's got a gain of 4 or 5. You know, this Ohio State defense, middle of the pack in most categories overall this season, but coming off their worst game, more than 500 yards, way too many missed tackles, way too many big plays against Purdue.
20 missed tackles.
Yeah.
If you want to count them up. That was what defensive coordinator Greg Schiano talked to us about and said, it wasn't just one thing, it was a bunch of different things, but that's the problem with the defense this year is it's been inconsistent. It's been something different every week.
2nd down and 5 on Nebraska's first drive of the game, and Martinez gets ripped down by Draymond Jones. And that is still, even with the departure of Bosa, the strength of this Ohio State defense.
That's going to be the mismatch for this Nebraska offensive line is working against a guy like Draymond Jones, who's so quick off the snap of the football. He's very good using his hands. Joe Foster, the left guard, he's got a long day.
3rd down 12. Martinez trying to get the corner. Jordan Fuller bumps him out a couple of yards short, and it's 4th down and about 2 or 3. And an early decision for Scott Frost to have to make.
And with some of the struggles that you've had on defense this year, you know, if you're Nebraska and you're Scott Frost, you're probably thinking, take the momentum, we're moving the football right now. We've only stopped ourselves with a penalty early in the drive. Why not?
Nebraska, the worst 4th down team in the country at 1 for 10 this year. Martinez floating into coverage, and Stoll makes the catch with a flag down anyways. Jack Stoll, the sophomore tight end, reaches around Tough Borland and brings it in with one hand.
And it's going to be pass interference on Tough Borland. Never even turned around to look for the football. Stoll's 12th reception on the season. They don't target him very often.
How about that catch?
Pass interference. Defense, number 32. Penalties decline. 1st down.
What a catch, what a play, and again, garnishing some of that momentum. I think you look at the past couple weeks for Nebraska, the success that they've had winning the past 2 weeks, a lot of it's been about getting off to a fast start. And I think you talk to head coach Scott Frost, he would say there's going to be that initial onslaught from Ohio State. They're going to have to match it.
Yeah, Nebraska outscoring its opponents 49-3 over the last 3 games in the first quarter. As I said, Martinez up the gut for a gain of 3, stopped by Robert Landers.
We're going back to the conversation about Ohio State's defense. You know, when you look at a lot of the big plays that have been given up and some of their struggles, to me, one of the things is when that's happening, you've got to calm some things down and simplify your defense. Sometimes Greg Schiano does too much with their front. They're slanting and angling them, running games. They're almost putting themselves in a bad position at times.
2nd and 7. Here's Morgan gashing the Ohio State defense for another first down. Stanley Morgan, 165 receptions now. He's on his way to becoming the all-time leading receiver at Nebraska and part of a tremendous duo with J.D. Spielman. From the 22, it's Martinez making a man miss. And stopped shy of the 15-yard line by Jordan Fuller.
When you watch Adrian Martinez play, he's got that former basketball background. Grew up playing football, basketball. It's actually how he hurt his throwing shoulder. Didn't play his whole senior year in football, but it's almost like playing basketball on grass when you watch him.
Comes a flag.
Offside. Defense, number 86. 5-yard penalty will result in a first down.
You know, penalties were another one of the glaring things in the loss for Ohio State last week or 2 weeks ago, and really all year it's been a heavily penalized team.
That's a mistake you shouldn't afford to make if you're the defense playing at home. And Nebraska's probably going to use a silent count, which they did in the last snap. You should be watching the football.
Empty set on 1st and 10. And it is Martinez inside the 5 and down to the 1, where it's first down and goal for Nebraska.
Nebraska should give a lot more credit to their offensive line. One of the reasons why their run game's been so effective, it's partially Martinez as well as Washington and Ozigbo, but also the big boys up front.
Here is Ozigbo sticking the shoulder down, keeps the feet churning, but can't get there. He was stopped by Malik Harrison, and it's 2nd and goal.
Not necessarily a great example there, but one of the things 2 plays ago I think they've excelled at or done a better job of is getting those double teams and working up to the second levels and taking care of the linebackers to help out with Martinez and the running backs in the run game.
Ozigbo tries it again, and this time he's in. On the 12th play of the drive, Nebraska with an early statement here in Columbus.
This is merely just a numbers game. Nebraska's going to look at the box count, see how many players Ohio State has in the box versus defending the pass. And because Adrian Martinez is capable of running it in 2, you have to account for him. You almost end up being a defender short, and it makes it easier to run the football in at that point.
First time this season, Ohio State's allowed a touchdown on the opening drive of the game. It's 7-0 as Barrett Pickering adds the extra point. So Ozigbo plunges in to cap off a long drive where they converted a 4th down, and now Ohio State's offense gets it for the first time. Back on Fox College Football, sponsored by AT&T Business. And Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes defer after winning the toss, and Nebraska marches down the field 12 plays and an Ozigbo touchdown.
I think coming off the bye, maybe you want to get your offense on the field, get that running game going, something they've struggled with for Ohio State. And on the flip side, the decision to go for it on 4th down ends up paying off for Scott Frost in Nebraska.
Caleb Lightbourne, who has lost the punting duties to Isaac Armstrong, but still kicks it off for Nebraska. Send it away to Johnny Dixon, but he stumbles, and what in the world was that? Whoa.
This has got to be I mean, it was an attempt that looked like it maybe a surprise onside, the way he was trying to kick this football. Watch as his foot comes across, and he just barely hits it. I mean, there's no way this was an attempt of anything but a surprise onside. And so we talked about the aggressive decision by Scott Frost to go for it on 4th down. Obviously trying to make another aggressive decision and keeping the football, maintaining the football, in part because of maybe some of their defensive struggles this year.
Offside. Kicking team number 2. The 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the kick. It was a legal kick. First down, Ohio State.
All right. Well, it's like there's a flag down. Not sure what it is. You just know there's got to be a flag for something on that play. And here comes Ohio State. And Dwayne Haskins, who's had a fantastic year.
Yeah, and he's got a rocket for an arm. He can really stretch the field vertically, and he's extremely accurate. Leads the Big Ten, 5th in the country, tied for the league in touchdown passes in the country. This kid's special.
30 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions.
And there's really not a whole lot of throws he can't make. In fact, I don't know that there's any that I've seen on film that he struggles with, regardless of short, intermediate, deep. You know, whatever you want to throw in there, he could do it all.
By rule, the penalty can be added to the end of the kick. First down, Ohio State.
Replacing, of course, the 4-year starter in J.T. Barrett. And already more than 2,800 yards. Starts the day with a handoff to J.K. Dobbins, who runs for 5. And as great as the passing offense has been for the Buckeyes, one of the glaring weaknesses Bruce talked about is the running game.
And in particular, it becomes exacerbated once they get down into the red zone, where it becomes a short and condensed portion of the field, and you've got to be able to run the football, and they've just struggled this year.
Out of the pistol here, they started with back-to-back runs, and JoJo Domann stops Dobbins. 84 rushing yards per game over the last 2 for Ohio State against Minnesota and against Purdue, and those 76 that they ran for in West Lafayette, that was the fewest since 2011.
Yeah, it's a bit deceiving because they're averaging 171, 172 on the year, but they're trending in the wrong direction. That's kind of the concern, but clearly they're trying to get it together this week, running the ball twice so far today.
To set up 3rd down and 1. Paris Campbell in the backfield now. He's got it, dancing his way into a little bit of space and then getting thrown down for a loss by Aaron Williams. Well, Nebraska went for and converted a 4th down on its first drive. Now Ohio State's got it 4th down and 2.
And just hated the play call. I mean, look, you're Ohio State. You've got guys who are 6'6", 330 pounds across the line. Allow those guys to just put their head down and go get you a couple yards. But here's an interesting decision on 4th down.
Dobbins stopped short. And a 3-and-out on Ohio State's first drive. Turn it over on downs as Mohamed Berry slams the door. What a start for the Huskers, trying to pull off a huge upset here in Columbus.
Well, one of the issues with this Ohio State run game is just take a look at the line of scrimmage, all right? You tell me, how much movement do they end up getting? And as I spoke about it before, they've got the size, they've got the athleticism. Unfortunately, they're playing with too high of pad level, and that's where you get beat. Low man wins, and in this case, Nebraska, better technique. They're doing a better job of being able to get enough push. And the other problem is Ohio State's not getting their offensive line up at the 2nd level. So you've got...
After review, the ruling on the field stands as called. First down, Nebraska.
Which was as expected, but going back to the point, you've got linebackers running free who can then make those stops at the line of scrimmage and stymie the run game before it really gets going. But interesting decision to go for it on 4th down. I think this early in the game, Joe, you got to kick it. It's not a given that you're going to make it, but take the points and move on instead of feeling like you need to go for it just because maybe you saw Nebraska play aggressive and go for it the drive before.
And a matchup of 2 of college football's winningest programs. Ohio State 2nd all-time in wins. Nebraska's 5th. Although in this series head-to-head, it's been dominated by Ohio State, especially lately, winning the last 2 matchups by a combined 118 to 17, and that included when Nebraska was a top 10 team a couple of years ago. Came in here to Columbus and got beat 62-3. So the Huskers back at it from the 21. And a handoff to the right side that gets shut down. Maurice Washington stopped by Tough Borland.
One change today in the Ohio State defense is Shaun Wade playing safety for Isaiah Pryor, not suited up. How's that going to impact this defense? Well, typically Shaun Wade would play your nickelback position. Because he's now playing safety, do you feel comfortable putting someone in there? Instead, Pete Warner's going to slide out on the slot.
Washington again ripped down by Chase Young, and it's quickly 3rd and long.
This is where Ohio State would like to live, because now they've got those pass rushers in Chase Young, a guy like Draymond Jones who can really get after the quarterback. And for Nebraska, it becomes difficult because their tendency is to either throw to Spielman or Stanley Morgan. Those are the two guys where the majority of the passes are targeted.
Ohio State already 1 sack today. They average more than 3 per game. As good as anybody in the Big Ten at getting after the quarterback. On 3rd and 10, they trust the front 4. A wide open man is missed, but a flag down. That was Kurt Rafdahl, and he may have been wide open because of an illegal pick. Let's see what the call is.
Nebraska's been looking to get someone else going. We saw them throw it to Jack Stoll on 4th down in the last series. Rafdahl this time. Trying to break some of those tendencies.
Interference, offense, number 81. The penalties decline. 4th down.
That's Cade Warner, the wide receiver. Kind of a do-it-all wide receiver for Nebraska. Unfortunately, got a little too much of the Ohio State defender.
KJ Hill waits back on this punt from Isaac Armstrong, who's been fantastic since taking over the job from Caleb Lightbourne in early October. Top 10 in the country, almost 50 yards per punt. Ohio State comes after it for good reason. Blocked out of the end zone. And so it's special teams putting its stamp on this game. Keandre Jones, the junior linebacker, blocks it through the end zone. And the Buckeyes on the board with a special teams safety.
Check out where Jones comes from. He's going to come from this side of it. And typically you've got really your 3-man wedge, but no one accounts for him because of the overload rush by the Buckeyes on the other side. So then it allows Jones to get to the punter as a free runner. He does the rest. Exactly what the Buckeyes needed to change the momentum.
Fox College Football, presented by AT&T Business, is sponsored by SoFi, a personal finance company to fit your goals. And by Volkswagen. Why settle for an SUV when you can have an SUVW? There's been a lot of things that have happened in this game already, huh? You got
a lot of back and forth, but Nebraska, so far, special teams kind of hurting them.
Had a 4th down conversion. You had a touchdown on a 12-play drive. You had a kicker fall while trying to kick it. We got a block punt leading to a safety. And now you're going to get a free kick from Isaac Armstrong. And the Buckeyes will have more good field position. Here comes KJ Hill. Crossing the 30 with a flag down. Stop from Jacob Weinmaster. We've also had a lot of flags already. Both these teams have struggled in that category this year.
There is no foul in the play. 1st down, Ohio State.
You mentioned it. Special teams has been the spot where Urban Meyer's team's gotten the better of Nebraska so far.
Yeah, let's start off with a botch. Looked like surprise onside kick. I don't see that happen very often. It really didn't hurt Nebraska. It was until this. The block punt leads to a safety now, giving the Ohio State Buckeyes the football once again.
Ohio State's first possession, they ran it all 4 plays and turned it over on downs. Here they go to Mike Weber, and he's got a short gain. Stop from Khalil Davis.
There's been a lot of discussion about this Ohio State rushing attack and the inability for Dwayne Haskins to be a part of it as a dual threat quarterback being the reason why they haven't been as successful. You can go and throw that out the window, okay? So many teams would trade to have this guy as their quarterback because of his passing ability. Ohio State's got to do a better job up front on their O-line.
Speaking of passing ability, first one of the day is high and off of the hands of K.J. Hill.
That's atypical compared to what you see this season from Dwayne Haskins. Very accurate in those short throws, and K.J. Hill seldom drops a football that he can get two hands on.
So not a pretty start for the Buckeyes, who typically have been so good under Urban Meyer, both coming off of losses and coming off of byes. Scott Frost has said this is probably the worst week to have to play Ohio State because of those things. It's another high throw, but this one's pulled in by Demario McCall, who's got a first down to the 46.
They like the matchup with their running backs on the linebackers, and as you can see, McCall just runs a little option route, breaking off the inside leverage from the Nebraska linebacker. Easy pitch and catch. Two throws, though, now from Haskins, both high. He's got a little bit of adrenaline pumping right now. Just needs to calm down.
McCall stays in there for first down from the 46. Running a wheel. Here's Hill, his first catch, coming off back-to-back 100-yard receiving games, which is impressive alone. And then you read the note that Ohio State's not had anybody do that since Antonio Holmes 13 years ago.
This is a different offense, and they've got a bunch of wide receivers who can make plays in the passing game. Can really stretch the field vertically, but they'll also dice you up in your zone coverage.
Second and short. Here's Weber for a first down. Yeah, Ohio State, under Urban Meyer, number 2 in the country in rushing yards. Only Georgia Tech, who of course is a triple option offense, has run for more yards than Ohio State has in that span. That's why it's so jarring for people to watch, even though they're still scoring more than 40 points per game, the way they're doing it. From the 42-yard line, Haskins sets his feet. Time to throw, and a wide open Johnny Dixon. Ohio State has the lead for the first time. Nobody within 15 yards of him, and he takes advantage with a 42-yard touchdown.
This has been an issue for the Nebraska defense. In particular, the coverage in the back end. Everyone runs with Terry McLaurin on the left side of your screen. Excuse me, McLaurin. It's going to be Johnny Dixon running across wide open. Doesn't get much easier than that. Sometimes those wide open guys are the hardest ones to complete the football to. Not so much for Dwayne Haskins.
Fabio adds the extra point, and Ohio State quickly has jumped in front. 10-7 or 9-7 the score here in Columbus as Haskins picks up his 31st touchdown throw of the year. Fox College Football, presented by AT&T Business, is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Best damn band in the land. And they are, aren't they?
They are. They're an absolute pleasure. Best thing is showing up Fridays when you hear them playing around the stadium. You can always hear everyone kind of practicing, preparing for their big moment on Saturday, too.
Echoing throughout Ohio Stadium, Johnny Dixon. In from 42 yards, his 5th touchdown catch of the year. And Ohio State leading 9-7. Maurice Washington back to return this kick. Washington will have a chance of this one from the 7. It's shy of the 20. Time for a game break. We say hello for the first time to Sam Farber.
Hello, Joe. Number 2 Clemson has feasted historically on Louisville. Foul 4-0 versus the Cardinal, and Tavian Feaster trying to make them the perfect 5 for 5. 70-yard touchdown run. It is 14-3. Clemson still in the first quarter. Joe and Brady.
Clemson's looked like one of the more dominant teams. Hasn't had the toughest strength of schedule in the ACC, but they've really come along.
So from the 19-yard line, play action to begin with J.D. Spielman. making a couple of men miss and turning nothing into a gain of 5. Shaun Wade brought him down. Yeah, we check in with Bruce.
Joe, after that first series where Nebraska just moved down the field, Larry Johnson, Ohio State's great D-line coach, warned his guys, be careful where your eyes are, the run fits. After that second series, he started telling them, they're telling you where they're blocking, which direction they're going. They picked up on something on the Nebraska O-line that they figured out.
All right, Bruce, they get pressure on Martinez here and force an errant throw.
Typically one of the things that you can pick up on is based on who the ID is, the middle linebacker of a defense. They're most likely IDing where they're going. So a lot of times you can pick up the point of the center, and he's going to help tell you where they're going. So that's where you can be a little predictable sometimes as an offensive line.
The middle linebacker right now is Tough Borland, 32. What they say is like having a coach on the field. And those black uniforms today for the Buckeyes. 3rd and 5 for Nebraska. Empty it out for Martinez. We've seen him do damage running the ball so far. He throws it incomplete. Washington, the intended receiver. Malik Harrison with the coverage. And that is back-to-back 3 and outs after the touchdown drive.
Didn't look like Maurice Washington really saw this football. He's going to run a slant route. Working against Harrison. He's got a step. Almost pulls up. That was odd. I wonder if he's feeling okay.
Armstrong to punt. His first one was blocked through the end zone for a safety. This time they set up a return. KJ Hill lost it and got it back. And so from the 48-yard line, Ohio State will have it back in 30 seconds. Here's our look of confidence, brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Dwayne Haskins, after missing his first throw, has hit 3 in a row, including a touchdown.
He should be confident. He's got a lot of weapons on the outside to throw to today. One he'll be without is Austin Mack. Surgery on an injured foot. So in his place is Benjamin Victor, who the huge catch versus Penn State helped in that comeback win. Been kind of quiet since.
Victor's in one-on-one to the bottom of the screen. That's the direction he's looking, and delivers to him with a flag down and a gain of 9.
I wonder if they're going to say it's a push off by Victor. Sometimes that happens when you extend with both arms and you make your break.
Pass interference, offense, number 9, 15-yard penalty, first down.
It didn't look egregious when you go back and take a look. He's working on Boodle. It's really just a hand slap, but I'm not sure there's really much there. That's a bad call in my opinion. You see that all the time in college football, and I don't agree with it. But going back to Benjamin Victor, looking for him to step up playing in replace of Austin Mack. But, you know, go back to the Purdue game a couple weeks ago. If he makes a couple of those plays in the red zone, that outcome of that game might be entirely different.
Put it on the ground here and nowhere to go. Dobbins gets a few out of it. Yeah, he had his best game numbers-wise, Victor did. He caught 5 passes, but there were several missed opportunities for him. And that's been the thing throughout his career. He's shown flashes, so much raw ability, but consistency is lacked.
Talking to the coaching staff, they almost wish they could redshirt him, just have a little bit more development. You can see he's got a tall frame, but extremely skinny. He's done his best to put on more and more weight. Still could use a little bit more development.
Second down long for Ohio State. Haskins off play action. Gets rid of it just in time. Victor lost it and incomplete. There is a flag down.
You know, I think this time around they're going to call it against Nebraska.
Judging by the crowd's reaction, looks like you're right.
Pass interference, defense, number 23. Automatic first down at the spot of the foul.
DiCaprio Boodle.
I think it happened at the top of his route. Nebraska likes to get up in your face, play press man-to-man, try to disrupt the timing of your routes. And I got to be honest, there wasn't much there either. You know, let these guys play. And so far, that's 2 calls going each way, and I don't really feel like there's much on either of them.
On the jet sweep, Paris Campbell, a couple of blocks in front, as dangerous as anybody in the Big Ten with the ball in his hands, and so they look for as many ways as they can to get it to him.
When you talk about the lack of a running game, this is essentially a portion of your running game. It goes down as a pass, but it's just an outside run. It's a simpler way of getting Paris Campbell the football in space where he becomes dangerous.
Inside the 40. Snap floated back there, threw off the timing a bit. And Mohamed Berry stopped Dobbins.
The center Michael Jordan moved over after playing left guard last year, put a little right guard back in 2016, but that's been an area where I think they've seen the most drop off, and it's not an indictment on Michael Jordan. It's because Billy Price was that good. First round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Second down and 6. Pressure coming. Haskins into the flats for the tight end Luke Farrell. He's coming off his best game. 4 catches against Purdue. And the sophomore has a first down. Haskins has hit 5 in a row after misfiring on his first toss. Is there a chance that this is just who they are in 2018? They're different than previous Ohio State teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the hard thing for fans and people on the outside to deal with, is the fact that they've got a guy who may shatter every record they've ever seen at Ohio State passing the football.
He has all day and zips it high and incomplete off the hands of Hill.
But you mentioned it on Urban Meyer and the way they've been able to run the football. It's going to be different because of Haskins' ability to throw. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, he's playing at an extremely high level. It's everything else on the offense that I think has to get going around him. He's the last issue that you would say Ohio State has.
Yeah, where the lack of balance seems to become the biggest issues once you get into the red zone. Dobbins, beautiful cut into space. First down and goal for Ohio State.
That's because they haven't had the ability to do that and be able to, in particular, run between the tackles where they should be able to. I mean, this is a big, athletic offensive line, as I noted earlier. The problem is their pad level. They play too high. If you're not going to play lower than the man across from you, you're going to have a hard time moving him off the football. Doesn't matter how big you are.
Here they go into the red zone where they were 0 for 5 in trying to score touchdowns against Purdue. Dobbins, stop and start. He's in. Touchdown, Buckeyes.
Watch the left side of this offensive line. You talk about movement. They're able to position themselves to create a seam for J.K. Dobbins. And he's good enough to be able to find it and find the end zone.
And on back-to-back plays, he's matched his rushing total from the Purdue game, when he had just 24 yards on 11 carries. The extra point is good, and the Buckeyes have cranked things up here in the latter stages of the first quarter. Another quick break. Back to the Horseshoe after this. Ohio State has figured things out the last few minutes, and that's a little more like it, the Buckeyes are saying.
And that's running back coach Tony Alford talked to him before the game. He said, I really challenged Mike Weber, J.K. Dobbins, went back and showed him film earlier this year of them running physical, them making plays. The biggest thing he said is they just need to get more north and south, more vertical running, not so much horizontal, not so much hesitation. Be decisive, lower your pad level, and play physical.
Bruce Feldman letting us know that Mo Washington has gone to the locker room for evaluation of an apparent injury. And so instead, it's Jerron Woodyard to return this. And Woodyard has nowhere to go. Special teams splendid for Ohio State in this one so far. And 2 of the great programs in college football. Both started playing in 1890, and between them 13 claimed national titles. And they met a couple times in the 1950s, not again until Nebraska joined the Big Ten in 2011, and Ohio State has dominated the series, winning 5 of the 6.
Old Woody Hayes. Always fun visiting the Woody Hayes Center in Ohio State, seeing his statue outside, as he was with cleats on.
Martinez rolls and has an open man in the flats. That's J.D. Spielman making a couple of men miss and getting a first down. Top 10 in Nebraska history already, and he's just a sophomore.
Well, he's probably going to have all the records when it's all said and done, especially in this offense with Scott Frost, but it's in part because of the quarterback, Adrian Martinez, but also his skill set. I mean, he can do anything. They put him in the backfield, he'll play the slot, he can play outside. Very versatile, but extremely explosive.
Had a big game against Ohio State last year, 200 yards receiving. Martinez looking back, floating one with blown coverage, and Austin Allen has a big gain for the Huskers to the 30. 45 yards for the redshirt freshman on just his second catch of the year.
Scott Frost told us someone else has to step up, and it's really just a little bit of a hesitation and then the misdirection by Martinez. Good play design, too. They put Ozigbo out in the flat. It forced the backer then to focus on Ozigbo, not thinking Allen will get the football.
Back to the ground here. It is Ozigbo for a gain of 4 or 5. Well, hard to find an easier throw. I know he's wide open, but he's also 6'8". Close your eyes, throw it up, and get a big play.
I'm telling you, man, sometimes those wide open ones are the hardest ones to hit. You're not laser focused in on where you're going to be throwing the football, and you just make a proximity throw.
Which is large when it comes to Allen. A couple of huge tight ends. Allen and Rafdal, 6'8", 6'7". Trying to throw it back again. Ozigbo out of the backfield with a perfect strike and a first down to the 16.
And you're seeing the kitchen sink right now from Nebraska. A little bit of everything. Some misdirection, and then all of a sudden coming back and targeting Ozigbo, and they don't target the running backs a ton in the passing game, but enough to keep you balanced.
First year under Scott Frost. First year with Adrian Martinez. The offense continues to grow. On first down, whip it outside for Stanley Morgan, who tries to go over the top, but he's spilled by Damon Arnett.
This Nebraska offense gives you so many things to deal with. We've talked a lot about the misdirection, but also even the formations. Had both tight ends on the outside, almost as lead blockers for their wide receivers on the bubble screen.
I've had a full game worth of stuff already, and we're only through with a quarter. On to the second in Columbus. Welcome back to Fox College Football, sponsored by AT&T Business. An aerial coverage of today's game brought to you by our good neighbors at State Farm. You're ready to open the second quarter. Nebraska on the move. They've got it second down at the Ohio State 11. A lot of misdirection there, but it didn't fool Ohio State as Devon Hamilton gets the tackle at the line of scrimmage of Ozigbo.
Which brings up a crucial third down for Nebraska. You're going to take all the opportunities you can on the road versus this Ohio State team to capitalize and get touchdowns, not field goals, in this portion of the field.
Martinez fires one. That's caught right at the sticks by Brian Reimers, and he's got enough for a first down.
Just too much cushion from Ohio State. You got to get up and challenge them. I mean, look at all that space to throw to. And this is stealing. And as accurate as Adrian Martinez has been this year, I know he's a true freshman, but he's going to take advantage of it.
He does to the former walk-on. He's just put on scholarship this year. So first down and goal.
This is where Martinez gets involved in the quarterback run game. Nebraska's in that unbalanced formation.
Yeah, the ball came late. Oh, left side was moving. This is a phase where Nebraska's been a whole lot better lately.
Offense, number 86, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Overall, though, one of the most penalized teams in the country.
We talked to Adrian Martinez about playing in the shoe, playing in front of 100,000 people. He said, I've done that before. He goes, I do it at home all the time. I said, no, but you're on the road. There's going to be some crowd noise there.
Yeah, they want you to be able to hear in Lincoln. Play a little bit up at Michigan, where Nebraska got rolled earlier this year. He keeps it. Now looks to throw it and does backwards. That is scooped up, and Ohio State's got it. Poor decision from Martinez. Leads to a turnover. Jonathan Cooper, the recovery.
This is just a true freshman mistake. This is part of that triple option we talked about from shotgun, but look, there's a guy responsible for J.D. Spielman. That's Sean Wade waiting out there for him. There's no need to force that football. At that point, you've got to run forward and just get what you can. And it's what you come to expect when you've got an inexperienced player out there in his first year starting. You saw more of these mistakes early in the season from Adrian Martinez, and he's cleaned up a lot of that since then. Maybe he feels the pressure to press because of what Ohio State's done on offense the past couple series.
Nebraska had it first down and goal inside the 5. They wind up turning it over. Ohio State back on offense, promptly drawing a flag of their own.
Offense number 25, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Ugly.
And that's one of those that should never happen. Wide receivers, running backs, those guys should always be watching the football regardless of what the cadence is. Even if you're going on a silent count, you still shouldn't be moving before that ball snapped. Different for the offensive linemen, not so much for the skill players.
Already 7 penalties in this game for the two teams combined. No first down and long, and to the ground they go with Weber, who's run for more than 2,200 yards in his career. It's the freshman of the year in the Big Ten 2 years ago, but then last year the door was open when his hamstring was injured for J.K. Dobbins, who had such a huge freshman season. And they've shared the load here in 2018, both trying to get things going. Second down 11. Weber swings out of the backfield, and Haskins gives it to him. He lost the ball. Hit out of bounds. And Ohio State dodges a bullet. That'll come back to where the fumble was lost, which is a couple of yards shy of the first down marker.
Almost a disaster. And watch as Weber goes vertical. It's the shoulder of Lamar Jackson that knocks the football out.
Forward out of bounds. By rule, the ball comes back to the spot of the fumble. It'll be third down.
Just well-placed shoulder of Lamar Jackson to get that football out. Talked about Ohio State and looking at this rushing attack with Mike Weber. And it's not like those guys have forgotten how to run the football. Dobbins, a 1,000-yard rusher last year, Weber 2 years ago.
The third down and short. Weber goes out. Dobbins comes in. Haskins looks to throw, and it's incomplete. Lamar Jackson with the coverage on Terry McLaurin, and it's fourth down.
One of the things you take for granted when you've got a guy like Terry McLaurin, who's very versatile. He can play anywhere on this offense, a wide receiver. But Austin Mack is the guy who plays that X receiver and that split end. A lot of timing routes are there. It takes a lot of time to build that chemistry. You can't just stick anyone back in there and expect to see the same results.
So Drew Crispin to punt. We've talked about how much Ohio State has dominated this series the last 2 years. This is the first punt against Nebraska for Ohio State in 3 games. And it's a good one. Boy, it looks like a perfectly thrown ball. And great coverage on J.D. Spielman. Nebraska will have the football when you come back to Columbus. Hope the college football Saturday is off to a great start. Fox College Football, presented by AT&T Business, is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve. Now by State Farm, here to help life go right. Back at Ohio Stadium. Buckeyes in front of the Huskers. 10 consecutive games with the turnover for Nebraska after Adrian Martinez's ill-advised throw. It's the second longest streak among Power 5 teams.
And the question is, how does he respond? True freshman on the road. How does he respond after making that mistake that didn't hurt them in regards to the scoreboard, but obviously hurt field position?
Everybody around the program, everybody that knows Martinez talks about his maturity, how he's never too high, never too low. And he comes back with a throw that's too high, and Kurt Rafdahl can't pull it in. There is a flag that comes in late, and perhaps a targeting call going against Ohio State. Ron Snodgrass has been a busy guy today.
And these are always so difficult to make. Anytime you have a receiver double clutch the football.
Personal foul, targeting, defense, number 4. Plays under further review.
That is Ohio State's leading tackler, Jordan Fuller.
And watch as Rafdal comes down to the ground. He tried to double catch it. You know, I don't think there's an intent by Fuller to hit him where he does. You know, initially he's up high as he starts to go, and he's trying to go low. But because Rafdal double clutches it and is trying to get the football, he then starts to go down. I mean, you can see when Fuller really started to commit, he's up higher. And unfortunately, because he's trying to go get that football, it ends up being a hit right to the helmet of Rafdal. And it's an unfortunate play.
Yeah, unfortunately, as we know, the onus is on the defender to avoid that kind of contact, regardless of what the offensive player did, kind of moving in his direction. Our rules expert, Dean Blandino, watching this one back in Los Angeles. Dean, good morning there. What do you see on this play?
Good morning. Yeah, and this is the tough part of the rule, because it's clear that the defender's trying to do the right thing. He's using the shoulder. He's keeping the head out.
After review,
again,
the ruling on the field is confirmed. Number 4 is disqualified for the remainder of the contest. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
This is tough, considering when you're looking at this Ohio State secondary and struggling with giving away some big plays. I mean, you're now looking at a secondary that's got a lot less experience coming in.
Like I was saying, you know, he's leading with the shoulder. The receiver is defenseless in that position. Forcible contact to the head neck. It is targeting.
And it is a significant loss for Ohio State. Second straight year, the juniors led the Buckeyes in tackles, and a defense that is already struggling. Now without one of their top players. The first down from the 26. Morgan trying to get around the corner. Pete Warner tries to track him down, but he's able to stay on his feet before getting belted on the sideline by Baron Browning.
You got to love the athleticism of Baron Browning, a sideline-to-sideline backer. They put him at that middle linebacker position in their nickel packages. Watch him as he tracks Morgan all the way to the sideline, doesn't give up. There's Tommy Togiai, too, the true freshman, tracking him down. D lineman.
Somehow Morgan was able to get 4 out of that, so 2nd and 6. Martinez goes down in the backfield. Malik Harrison brings him down, and it's 3rd and 8.
And that's all instinct. Malik Harrison saw that Nebraska tries to run their tackle trap play. It's where the tackle comes back inside to pin one of the defensive linemen. And once there's that void created, you've got to shoot through that gap and make a play. Harrison did.
Nebraska so far 1 for 4 on 3rd down. Third and 8 from the 28. Ohio State bringing pressure. Martinez stays alive for a moment, but then is hit as he let it go by Pete Warner. And 4th down coming up.
This just plays to the strength of this Ohio State defense. Take a look as they run a bunch of games up front. Look how many players are crossing in front of your face, really nowhere to go. And eventually Pete Warner gets an arm in on Adrian Martinez. Once that running back commits into the protection, that allows that extra free linebacker, Pete Warner in this case, to go make a play on the quarterback.
Armstrong to punt. They're coming after it again. He gets this one off. And a fair catch signaled for. He'll let it drop. Down to the 32. 40-yard punt. Ohio State back on offense after this. Fox College Football is presented by AT&T Business, providing edge-to-edge intelligence. Ohio State in front of Nebraska 16-7, getting a touchdown throw from Dwayne Haskins, his 31st of the season, and he's continued to put up numbers that pretty much look like the best season for a passer in Ohio State history.
They've never seen anything like Dwayne Haskins at the quarterback position. He's got a very, very bright future playing on Sundays. Again, it just keeps going back to that argument of the whole dual threat quarterback ability. You don't need to have that. You look at the NFL level. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, those guys don't need to be able to move around when they can throw it like they can.
They'll throw it on first down here into a tight window for Johnny Dixon. Dedrick Young with the tackle, and the crowd seeing that big collision up high wants to return to the favor with a targeting, but no flag.
It was DiCaprio Boodle who came in at the end of this. And again, it's tough when you see the play before with Fuller not to make the case for Boodle for Nebraska.
Offensive player number 1.
I believe he said officials timeout. Didn't get the exact reason for it.
I wonder if they're reviewing this upstairs to indeed see if it was targeting on number 1.
And now they blow it dead.
Replay and stop the game to review the previous play for potential targeting.
So that is exactly what it is, as Johnny Dixon had to leave the game there.
So we go back and take another look. It's tough because the defender behind Dixon's bringing him down, and Boodle's again trying to lead it with the shoulder, trying to do the right thing. Unfortunately, again, the burden's on the defensive player in this case.
Dean, we need you again. What do you got?
Yeah, it's similar to the previous play where it's tough on the defender. The receiver's level is changing, but he is leading with the shoulder. And typically when they stop the game to review this for targeting, many times they create that foul. This is close, but I think by the letter of the law, it is targeting.
And it would be a huge loss for Nebraska when you look at their 2 cornerbacks and playing some pretty good football in the type of scheme that they like to play on the outside, up in your face, press man-to-man coverage. Cam Taylor would probably be the next guy in. That's a true freshman. It's a tall order for a guy on the road facing a very talented group of wide receivers at Ohio State. And the tough part is, I mean, there's not really much of a hit window or much of a spot to try to make a play on the receiver at that point. But again, it's part of the rule to try to make the game safer for players.
And it has done its job in that regard, but there are still plays within the letter of the law that are impossible for the defensive player to avoid the penalty.
And I think that's the tough part for fans is to go back and look at it and think there's not an intent on the player. I don't think he's trying to, contact Johnny Dixon in the head.
After review, the receiver caught the ball, made a move, and was a runner. Therefore, he's not defenseless. There is no targeting on the play. Second down.
And so the key here is, because it would have been the version of targeting to the head of a defenseless player, because he had made a move and wasn't defined as defenseless anymore, and Boodle didn't lead with his helmet, they don't throw the targeting penalty. And so Boodle stays in the game. Second down and 1 for Ohio State. J.K. Dobbins has a first down into the arms of Luke Gifford. Again, 2 different versions of targeting. There's the one with the launch where you're leading with your head, and then there's the defenseless player where it's any body part to the head of that defenseless player. But he was not defined as defenseless. First down from the 44. Haskins lost it, able to get it back and deliver a strike for a first down to Dixon. Johnny Dixon having a monster first half for the Buckeyes. Here he's got 26.
What poise by Haskins, though. Drops a perfect shotgun snack, picks it up, still keeps his eyes downfield and finds his read. A lot of quarterbacks would get flustered and be behind in their progression, not end up finding the wide open guy. Not Haskins.
Already 77 yards for Dixon. Here's Dobbins. Not a lot of room that time. Dedrick Young stopped him.
And clearly from the beginning of this game, Ohio State seems intent to run the football. They kind of proved all the naysayers that they can't. They're still a physical football team. That's kind of been the biggest thing when you talk to Ryan Day. It talked about the attitude and really the physicality in which the offensive line plays. They just need to get back to having that sort of attitude against their opponents.
Play action on second down, and he got drilled by JoJo Doman. That's a fumble and a turnover. Nebraska's got it at the 35. And it's the converted safety who's been dealing with injuries, playing outside linebacker today and lowering the boom on Haskins. Peyton Newell is the man that recovered it.
First down, Nebraska.
Shot out of a cannon off of the edge.
And if there's one thing that's been effective, and you're going to see Doman off the right side, it's been pressure. Either Haskins hasn't seen it at times, or he's seen it and he's tightened up and made poor decisions. 3 interceptions on the year when getting pressure. And clearly this one, he doesn't see Doman coming the entire way. And the toughest part is he gets hit on that throwing arm side. To monitor that moving forward.
So Nebraska has it back at the 36. Martinez into the short side for Stanley Morgan. And he's close to a first down with a stop from Damon Arnett. A turnover on both sides. Lots of penalties on both sides. Ohio State with a 16-7 lead, but Nebraska with a first down near midfield. Maurice Washington, who Bruce reported earlier, went to the locker room. They're checking on his leg. He's back in the game. Yeah, and he's part of this option play. He's got it. A little late pitch from Martinez, and Pete Werner with the tackle on a gain of 6. We look back at that big hit on Dwayne Haskins.
Well, it's right kind of to the upper rib area where you don't have a lot of protection there. Once you lift your arm up to throw, you're exposed.
Bubbled it to Spielman. A first down and then some for J.D. Spielman inside the Ohio State 35 on a gain of 16.
Spielman's so good out in space. Just a tough matchup. It's about Ohio State's struggles with Rondale Moore for Purdue a couple weeks ago. J.D. Spielman's kind of a similar type player.
Yeah, stocky, stronger than they look. Spielman, a great athlete. He was actually originally committed to Ohio State to play lacrosse. Offer never came for football. What a good he's been for Nebraska. Martinez scrambling with a flag down. He'll run and tiptoe his way with enough for a first down. Let's see where the flag is.
It's getting a little chippy down there. Like Stanley Morgan and Damon Arnett were getting into it a little bit.
Offside. Defense number 86. Penalties decline. Result of the play. First down.
We've seen Draymond Jones jump off sides today, now on offsides, but going back to our discussion about J.D. Spielman, that name should be familiar for many people who are Ohio State fans. He's the nephew of Chris Spielman, the legendary linebacker.
Second down is short. Second down.
Obviously the son of Rick Spielman, general manager for the Minnesota Vikings. Oddly enough, Chris Spielman will be calling the Detroit Lions Minnesota Vikings game this weekend. Comes full circle.
Spotted him a little bit short, so 2nd and 1. Martinez sheds a couple of tacklers. Now going in the wrong direction and pulled down for a loss of 5.
Well, Martinez is the 2nd leading rusher on the team in regards to carries, and it seems like Ohio State's intent on forcing him to keep the football. He's got so much team speed, it's hard to be able to find an edge to get to.
That was Brendan White that tackled him. Seeing some time here with Jordan Fuller lost with a targeting penalty. 3rd down 6. Martinez rolls, turns the shoulders, wide open, but did he get a foot down? It's Williams. They say that he did. First down to the 14.
The question will be, did the first foot come down before it went out of bounds? But watch as Martinez rolls out the very end of this little flick. It's one of the things you got to be impressed by.
Ruling on the field is a completed catch. That ruling is under further review.
Let's take a look.
At the very end of it, watch his left foot catch down. That's a reception. In real time, though, you could see where an official would have an issue with that. Kind of happened pretty quick, but just want to make sure we get it right.
So the first-year junior college transfer won a junior college national championship at East Mississippi Community College. Mike Williams helping Nebraska convert here on 3rd down.
Only his 9th catch on the season, taking him over 100 yards for the year. But again, going back to our initial conversation about this wide receiver group, really all the tight ends, pass catchers for Nebraska, they were really hoping to get someone else involved.
On the field of a catch is confirmed. 1st down, Nebraska.
They're hoping to get someone else involved beyond Stanley Morgan and J.D. Spielman, considering about half their offense, half the targets go their way. It's a little bit predictable when you play a team like Ohio State that can match up with you. You got to throw in some other wrinkles.
And they have. The long catch for Austin Allen. And then the 2 3rd down pickups have been guys that are typically under the radar. Williams there. Before that, it was Brian Reimers. Fresh set of downs at the Ohio State 14. And they hand it off to a hurdling Ozigbo, who's inside the 10. Brendan White, another tackle.
Talked about the emergence of Ozigbo. Part of it's been the weight loss. Dropped about 20 pounds. They say he's leaner. He's able to make those more agile plays, like jumping over a pile like that.
2nd and short. Back to Ozigbo. Crashes his way to the 2, where it's 1st down and goal for Nebraska.
I don't think Nebraska's going to change what they're doing right now. It's Ohio State that needs to make an adjustment. Bring in some bigger bodies. Try to cover up more of the offensive linemen. Now they're running right down the middle of your defense.
Yeah, that's going to be another offsides penalty. This one on Robert Landers. It'll move it inside the 1.
Offside. Defense number 67 entered the neutral zone, causing the offense to react half the distance to the goal. 1st down.
Already 5 penalties on the Buckeyes today.
Typically, you don't see too many hard counts down on the goal line because it's more punitive to the offense if you guys jump as opposed to the defense. Nonetheless, they want to keep them off balance.
Ozigbo hit in the backfield, and he's dropped for a loss. Baron Browning with the tackle for Ohio State.
The sophomore out of Fort Worth, Texas, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're Billy Davis, the linebackers coach at Ohio State.
Remember, Nebraska had it 1st down and goal inside the 5 previously in this quarter, couldn't score, eventually turned it over. Here they've got it 2nd and goal. Martinez keeps, he's in for the Nebraska touchdown. Another sustained drive for the Cornhuskers, and they're back to within a score here late in this 1st half.
That's been large part because of Adrian Martinez and his ability in the run game. A little misdirection with the zone read. As you can see, once Chase Young is frozen like that, he knows that he's the free defender that he can beat, and the Nebraska offensive line creates a hole on the right side.
They go 64 yards in 10 plays. Boy, it looked like Ohio State was ready to break the game open, but Nebraska forces the turnover. And they pay it off with a Martinez touchdown run. 2-point game in Columbus. All right, Rob, got a good one going here. So Adrian Martinez gets in for the touchdown, and it's a 2-point game. But the difference is a block punt through the end zone for a safety.
It's kind of been the Adrian Martinez show for Nebraska's offense. A lot of people feel like he was perfect fit for the Scott Frost offense in Nebraska.
It's run for 34 yards in that touchdown. He's 12 of 16 through the air for 145 yards. That one drops in front of Dixon, picks it up off of the bounce, and gets swallowed up at the 12. 4:45 left to go in the 1st half. Dwayne Haskins and the Ohio State offense back out there after this. Buckeyes by 2 inside the 5-minute mark here in the 1st half as we check in with Bruce Feldman.
Joe, I talked to the Ohio State training staff. They said Dwayne Haskins is fine to go in. Now, when he was warming up, he was wincing a little bit. That right shoulder seems like it needed to be loosened up after that big hit in the last series, but he's back.
The hit came from JoJo Doman, forced a fumble that Nebraska capitalized on with a touchdown. And so 16-14 as they hand it off to Weber. And Mike Weber has 3 or 4. Ohio State coming off of the bye, trying to bounce back from their first loss of the season. So good under Urban Meyer coming off byes, and so
undefeated. They haven't lost coming off a bye under Urban Meyer. But the thing is they've played a lot of games close coming off the bye, and it's obviously what we're seeing here in the first half.
There's an injured player for Nebraska. That is Antonio Reed, one of their safeties.
A senior out of Memphis, Tennessee, one of the better safeties at matching up, and they like to play man-to-man. Talked to defensive coordinator Eric Shenander about their secondary and their different skill set. You know, they like to play different guys for different reasons. He's one of the guys they like to try to put in when they feel like they can match up in man-to-man. Sometimes that limits what you can do as a defense, and this is obviously a staff that's going to be limited anyway because it's their first year trying to implement a culture and a system under a new head coach in Scott Frost.
So 2nd down and 6. Haskins well protected this time. Hits a crossing KJ Hill, who's got all kinds of room. 1st down near the 45, but the ball came out. He wasn't marked down. Who's got it? It looked like perhaps Luke Gifford pounced on that for Nebraska. They say that they've got it. Still no signal.
By the defense. 1st down, Nebraska.
There it is. A 2nd turnover in as many drives for Ohio State.
Yeah, self-inflicted wounds. Let's take another look. It looks like Gifford indeed was the player not only to knock the football out, but to recover it. And it's always the defender you don't see. Gifford coming from behind, able to get a hand in on it. It's the toughest thing to prepare ball carriers for, is when it's the guy coming from behind you, when you're not able to secure it against your arm and your body. You can practice all day you want, but in a live game scenario, it's incredibly difficult to prepare for.
This is one of the things Nebraska's defense is really struggling to do, and that is get turnovers. They had 3 against Bethune-Cookman. They've got 2 today, and they provide room for Divino Zigbo, getting 7 on 1st down. So Luke Gifford, the 2-time team captain, forced it and recovered it. And inside the 4-minute mark here of the first half, Nebraska's got it at the Ohio State 40.
Luke Gifford kind of epitomizes what Scott Frost is looking for. A lot of times when you're a senior, get a new head coach, sometimes they don't always buy in. He's one of the guys they talked about to us, saying he has bought in. He's been a great leader for our team and clearly chasing after the football and making a play.
2nd and 3. Zigbo again. A huge hole, and he's at the 30 with another Nebraska 1st down.
It's been right down the middle of the Ohio State defense. They found a weak point of this defense, something Purdue utilized a number of times a couple weeks ago.
And they hustle back to the ball. Take a look and then check with the sideline.
Really, both sides are doing that. It's a game of adjustments. There's an initial call, and depending on what Nebraska does, Ohio State's defense will adjust.
Five seconds to snap it. And then a timeout.
Charge timeout, Nebraska. They're first of the game.
We'll take the timeout with them. Got a big one in the Big 12 today. Texas and West Virginia next on Fox. A top 25 matchup, and then we finish the day in the Pac-12, UCLA and Oregon at 7:30 Eastern.
An interesting time to call a timeout if you're Scott Frost there, but I think he feels like this is a big play in the context of you're almost in field goal range. Didn't like what Ohio State's defense was showing. So want to make sure you give yourself every opportunity when you're in scoring distance.
1st down from the Ohio State 30. Here's another hole. And a gain of 4 for Ozigbo. Stopped by Tough Borland.
as Nebraska's gotten down to this portion of the field, they've really relied heavily on the run game. Martinez has been a part of it, but haven't thrown the football quite as much as they creep towards the red zone.
The whistle, and it looks like Ohio State is going to use its first timeout.
Charge timeout, Ohio State. Their first of the game. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Time for a game break. We check in again with Sam Farber.
Joe, chaotic week over at Maryland. Matt Canada still the interim head coach after DJ Durkin was reinstated then fired in a matter of hours. They're hosting Michigan State. Connor Hayward going to the right side for an 18-yard touchdown. Makes it a 10-3 lead for Sparty at halftime. Ohio State visiting Michigan State next week.
Now, what a crazy week for Maryland. What a crazy year. All the things they've had to deal with. And having to suit up today and facing a good Michigan State team. Here at 16-14, Ohio State. Adrian Martinez, a true freshman quarterback. And Scott Frost in his first season as the head coach. 2nd down and 5. Trying to take advantage of a second consecutive Ohio State turnover. They marched 64 yards to punch it in after the previous one. They stay with a heavy ground game. Martinez stays on his feet down the sideline for a first down inside the 15.
Boy, is he special. You know, they bring a tight end over to help lead block. Big number 86. He's going to come across for Pete Warner. And really, you know, it should be inside, but he outruns Tough Borland, who was waiting for him. And he gets to the shoulder of Warner to make the big play. He just seems unflappable. There's not anything that really bothers him or catches him off guard. So poised for a true freshman.
You hear that from everybody you talk to about him. Part of the reason he was able to win the job right away. 3-way battle during camp. Zigbo to the left side, thrown down at the 10 by Jonathan Cooper. And with a minute and a half left in this first half, it's 2nd down and 7.
We talked about that quarterback battle. They said it was really training camp. Once they got into training camp, there wasn't a lot of separation, but then they got going, and Adrian Martinez just really ran away with it.
And then injured his knee late in week 1, missed the Troy game, which Nebraska lost, struggled in his return against Michigan at the Big House, and actually sat during the second half of this game. But from that point forward has gotten better each week. And finally, the last few weeks, the whole offense getting better right along with him. Inside a minute now on 2nd down. They keep it on the ground. Martinez with an option flip. J.D. Spielman bumped out of bounds close to a first down. Brendan White, another tackle for Ohio State. A little bit short. 3rd and less than a yard.
It was a great catch, though, by Spielman. I mean, had to use one hand to corral it in just to be able to maintain possession of the ball.
Zigbo, first down and goal for Nebraska. 21 seconds. 2 timeouts. They'll use one of them here. Coming up on the State Farm halftime, as Rob previewed a moment ago. Plenty to update you on, plenty to preview over the course of this college football Saturday. Ohio State with a 2-point lead, but Nebraska knocking on the door here with a chance to take the lead into halftime at the Horseshoe. Let's check in with Bruce Feldman.
Guys, you talk about how unflappable it is. It's interesting to watch. After he had that bad turnover mistake earlier in the game, he didn't sulk or anything. He was just really calm. When I've talked to his dad last night, he said, you know what, I heard you're the reason why that comes from. You got to note, Adrian Martinez, his mom passed away from cancer when he was 10. His dad is one of these guys who works 6 days a week from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Adrian saw that work ethic, and the one thing his dad really impressed upon him is there's 2 things in this world you have, your name and your word, and you live up to it. And he's really honored it, and this is a really special kid.
He's got it first down and goal. He keeps it. He's got his 2nd touchdown of this first half. And Nebraska on the road at the Horseshoe has the lead with 15 seconds left in the first half.
And they have taken it to Ohio State's defense, in particular up front. This offensive line for Nebraska has continually improved with each week and gained more confidence. They're the more physical team right now.
A lot of heads shaking here at Ohio Stadium. After the first loss of the season, they had the couple weeks to get ready to try and shake that loss off and respond. But you said it, Nebraska's taking it to them here in the first half.
And it's been off the zone read game. So it freezes the defense, and then they rely on Adrian Martinez's ability to see the hole and make the cutback. Talked about his dual threat ability at the beginning of the game. He truly is a tough runner, not only physically, but just tough to tackle. He's elusive when he gets outside.
You know, we talked earlier about Ohio State coming off byes, unbeaten under Urban Meyer. They're also unbeaten coming off of regular season losses, and not just unbeaten, but they have typically come out breathing fire, winning by an average of 35 points following a loss.
We were here last year following one of their losses. I believe it was to Iowa versus Michigan State. Remember how that one went?
Yeah.
They took care of business. It was 50-3, something like that.
Caleb Lightbourne, who had an issue on the first Nebraska kick today, rolls this one along the numbers. It goes out of bounds. Special teams, the one phase where Nebraska's really struggling today.
Kickoff out of bounds. Kicking team.
So good field position for Ohio State. We've talked about how much Ohio State has dominated this series, especially recently. Last time Nebraska came here, they were ranked number 9 in the country and got blasted 62-3. And then Ohio State last year, 56-14. They had more than 600 yards of offense. 118-17, the combined score over those two games.
Scott Frost coming as the head coach. He's helped close the gap. But as far as the situation right now, Dwayne Haskins at quarterback. You have 15 seconds. Couple timeouts. You got the ability to run a couple plays, maybe put yourself in position to throw a Hail Mary or potentially a long field goal.
And they are going to give him a shot. He throws incomplete. 11 seconds now.
And still with a time for one more play. And what you're probably saying to your guys is, look, when you get up there, you make the catch. It's probably going to be long enough for a first down, which should initially stop the clock. The question then becomes maybe just call a timeout at that point, see how much time you have left to decide whether or not you have a chance for another play or if it's a Hail Mary or a field goal attempt.
He'll look to throw it again. He's got all day to scan and throw to the sideline, incomplete off of the hands of Hill. Trey Neal in coverage. 5 seconds.
At this point, you just run the football, run the clock out. No point taking another chance. But Dwayne Haskins, after taking that shot earlier by Joe Doman, I don't know how healthy he looks right now. Throws a little bit off. Some of that could be more of that timing I talked about with Austin Mack being injured.
Borderline shocking first half. Back-to-back turnovers lead to back-to-back touchdowns for Nebraska, which leads Ohio State after 30 minutes. Now we get you to Rob Stone in Los Angeles for the State Farm halftime show. Welcome back to Fox College Football, sponsored by AT&T Business. Back in Columbus, Nebraska with the lead on Ohio State, 21-16. Back-to-back touchdowns after back-to-back Ohio State turnovers to finish that half. And for the first time since 1955, the Huskers lead the Buckeyes at halftime. We welcome you back inside. Joe Davis and Brady Quinn getting you ready for the second half. Really surprising to look and see where things are at after 30 minutes.
A sloppy start by Ohio State coming out of the bye. I thought maybe that could be the case, but penalties, turnovers, and really the hit on Dwayne Haskins. I'll be curious to see how they respond coming out of halftime, because they do get the football. For Nebraska, though, it's been the Adrian Martinez show, the way he's played. Leading rusher, couple of touchdown rushes, been pretty efficient, with the exception of one play. Been pretty solid so far in the first half.
Ohio State is averaging more than 7 yards per play You do that, you typically figure you're going to be sitting pretty, but they've only had the ball for 10 minutes. Nebraska's dominated that category, and the 2 turnovers have proven costly. Nebraska trying to pull off a shocker, trying to win their 3rd straight. Ohio State trying to get things back on track after their first loss. Still very much part of the college football playoff picture. Let's go down to Bruce Feldman.
Joe, I talked to Urban Meyer a minute ago. His tone was actually a little more mellow than I expected it to be. He said it's turnovers. We cannot have that. So how do you get the run game going? Well, they're getting too many another safeties in the box. It's been one little thing or another. We got to keep running the ball. On the other side, Scott Frost said, our kids believe now. Right now, this is a different team than it was earlier in the year. He said, I told them they haven't done anything yet, but we're right where we want to be.
All right, Bruce. J.K. Dobbins with an outside run to open the second half for a nice gain.
There's a lot of talk about the extra defender in the box. Now, when you have a quarterback that can run the football, it kind of evens out those numbers. But when you have a quarterback who can throw the football like Dwayne Haskins too, that's kind of your trump card. And that's where you can utilize those matchups. So they can talk about the extra defender in their box, but these Ohio State running backs are good enough too. They can beat that extra guy when they want to.
Here's Paris Campbell. Campbell sidesteps a defender and crosses the 40. Jojo Doman pushed him out. Yeah, Ryan Day, the offensive coordinator, he said yesterday, look, we're Ohio State. We should be able to run people over, regardless of how many people they put in the box.
And that's been the difference for me. And I talked about it earlier this year when we watched Ohio State and looking at the offensive line, they haven't been as physical.
Haskins steps into a throw, and sitting in the zone is Johnny Dixon. He's got 7.
Nebraska continues to want to bring edge pressure there. Jojo Doman once again had the sack fumble in the first half on Dwayne Haskins. The one thing, though, that throw showed me was Dwayne Haskins is feeling all right. That had a lot of zip on it.
That thing came out of there. One of the strongest arms in the country. Gives it to Dobbins, who steps out of a tackle and has a first down inside the 40. And so J.K. Dobbins, who ran for just 24 yards last week, already has more than 70 today.
Ohio State picking up the pace on offense. Easier to do that when you're gaining first downs, but in the first half, 10 minutes and change time of possession, kind of shocking.
A 2-to-1 time of possession. A Nebraska team typically really struggles in that category. Dobbins this time is hit when he got to the line of scrimmage. Muhammad Berry with the tackle.
I think that's kind of by design too, right? I mean, you play a little bit of keep away from this offense. You're not as deep on defense, so maybe Scott Frost was thinking we won't play as fast as we normally do, usually the fastest paced offense in the Big Ten, and maybe we give our defense a little more rest.
Because it is a defense that, while it's made strides, is still struggling. 12th in the Big Ten, more than 30 points per game. On the field to open this second half. Haskins retreating, throwing incomplete. And they say that ball was tipped, so no flag.
Like Mohamed Berry might have got a piece of that on the way out. We haven't seen as many shots downfield on the outside against this Nebraska defense. Let's take another look. They bring a cross dog blitz. You can see the 2 linebackers, and that was Carlos Davis who got a hand on it. Nose tackle.
Yeah, you're right. So much of Ohio State's passing game is the quick throws and then the shots to match them up with. I'm not sure they've taken a downfield shot at all today.
Just Johnny Dixon on the 1 touchdown pass.
Pressure coming. It's a screen. The perfect call for the defense Nebraska had on. And Dobbins takes advantage, running to the 15 on a 23-yard third down conversion.
You called it. It is a perfect call, and we haven't seen this so far today. The screen game to the running backs. That's something that's really effective for this Ohio State defense. Ryan Day sitting on it, finding the right time to make that call. This Nebraska defense has been more aggressive in the second half so far than they were in the first half with some of their pressures.
From the 15-yard line. First drive of this second half for the Buckeyes. They hand it to Campbell, trying to get the corner. He's thrown down by Aaron Williams, and he lost 3.
The frustrating part about watching this is you're seeing a lot of side-to-side lateral run plays, trying to get outside, trying to get to the edge. That's some of this, or a piece of this Ohio State offense. But again, they should be able to run between the tackles more effective than they have. But credit the Nebraska defensive front. I think they've been more stout the past few weeks.
Here they are back into the red zone, Brady. They were able to cap off a drive with a touchdown during the first half, snapping a string of 8 consecutive trips into the red zone without a touchdown. Second down, 13. Haskins well protected, letting it fly into coverage. It's picked off. Lamar Jackson, the 3rd turnover today for Ohio State.
And this is nothing other than a poor decision by Dwayne Haskins. I'm not sure if he saw Lamar Jackson, but he had a beat on that entire time.
Ohio State came into the day 7 turnovers in 8 games this year. They've turned it over 3 times this afternoon. And the Huskers starting to believe that they got a shot to pull off a monster upset today.
Let's go back and take a look at that last interception by Dwayne Haskins. This should be a simple read. It's really just a high-low, and they're going to be trying to high-low Lamar Jackson, but he eyes it the entire way. KJ Hill's not there. Then he looks downfield, doesn't have it right here. Here's the player he should be going to. That's Terry McLaurin coming across in the shallow cross, and instead Haskins with an uncharacteristic poor decision, really trying to force the football.
Only his 6th interception of the year. Now Adrian Martinez on the first Nebraska offensive play of the half runs for 6. Well, Nebraska's starting to put together the things you've got to do to pull off a huge upset. They've got the 3 takeaways. They're dominating the time of possession category. And with their true freshman quarterback, their first drive of this second half gets it out of his hand quickly to the tight end Jack Stoll, who rumbles his way for close to a first down.
Bruce talked about the confidence that Nebraska had coming into play this game because of the prior 2 weeks, but really it's been since the second half versus Purdue. That's when the coaching staff feels like they would feel like they got this team where they wanted them to, and they started to build from that point on this season.
Martinez again slices through the Ohio State defense, tripped up by Tough Borland. 2nd and 1.
Talking to Greg Schiano, he said the difficulty of facing this rushing attack for Nebraska is in their zone read game, they read a different player, sometimes almost every play, but throughout the course of a game. It makes it tough to tell those guys what to prepare for.
First touch of the half for Ozigbo, and another Nebraska first down. How much of this is Nebraska putting together a good plan and getting really good at offense, and how much is Ohio State's defense struggling?
I think it's a combination of the two.
Spielman.
One thing that I feel like from watching a lot of film, and anyone who watches a lot of Ohio State, you're going to see it, is they move around a lot up front. They're active. They slant their front, meaning they're going to start in one spot and snap of the football. They're going to slant across all 4 together somewhere else. The problem with that is it's hard to keep your gap integrity. You're responsible for each gap as far as your front 7. It's hard to do that when you're always moving. You can actually create creases easier for the offense that way.
On 2nd and 7, a fumbled snap. Martinez reaches out to pull it back in. They dodge a bullet there.
There's been a number of low snaps today from Tanner Farmer, the center, but this one looked more on point. It's just Adrian Martinez taking his eyes off the football and instead onto his read. He was looking at Jay-Sean Cornell, the DN, for that portion of the read.
We're into the turnover battle so far today, 3-1, and they narrowly avoid their 2nd turnover of the day, but it's 3rd and 12.
Because Ohio State likes to put those linebackers in the line of scrimmage. It helps create one-on-ones for the pass rush versus the Nebraska O-line.
Martinez down the seam, off of the hands of Spielman, who had beaten Sean Wade. And it's 4th down.
And Martinez is going to wish he had this one back. J.D. Spielman might be thinking, oh.
Ooh, alligator armed it a little bit, huh?
It's right there. And those are the plays you talked about, the plays you have to make to beat Ohio State in their house. That's one of those plays. J.D. Spielman, Adrian Martinez, they're going to wish they had back.
Happen to just be joining us. Nebraska had a punt blocked earlier today. This time Ohio State sets up the return. KJ Hill watches it bounce. And Ohio State catches a break that thing goes all the way into the end zone. Huskers in front of the Buckeyes, but Ohio State with the ball after this. Buckeyes back on offense, trailing 21-16. Dwayne Haskins was drilled and fumbled early in the second quarter, and since then, just 50%. Handed off on first down to Mike Weber, who surges forward for a gain of 5. Anything to that, or is that simply coincidence?
No, I think there's a little bit something to that. I think you've seen some of the games where he got some pressure where he struggled. And it happened versus Purdue. It happened versus TCU. Happened versus Penn State a little bit. At times when he gets pressured and he starts getting knocked around, he struggles. But here's the secret. That's every quarterback. Every defense is trying to do that, especially to a pocket passer.
On 2nd and 4. Looks wide side, lets it fly for Victor, and a first down for Ohio State on Victor's first catch of the day, working against Lamar Jackson.
He was targeted a lot in the first quarter. He kind of got away from it, called for an offensive PI, then drew a pass interference. They've tried to throw it to him a number of times, just those timing routes a little bit off.
Blitz picked up. Haskins steps up and has room to run if he wants to, but slides down. And the crowd that's seen 4 straight years of J.T. Barrett running wild here in Columbus, not happy watching a gain of 1 on that play.
I don't know that Dwayne Haskins is going to be happy when he goes back and watches it. I mean, there was a little bit more meat on that bone, I think, because he could have went downfield, but you touched on the protection. Tremendous job by Mike Weber, seeing the edge pressure and picking it up.
Oh, 2nd and 9. They give it to Weber, who bubbles it outside. Now cuts it against the grain. He's got blockers in front. Weber hits it hard into Nebraska territory for a first down. 26 yards after it looked like it was going nowhere.
They're trying to run to the outside, little stretch zone. They couldn't find anything, and Weber, just with the quickness, the start-stop ability, and really the vision. How about the offensive lineman, in particular Thayer Munford, covering downfield even though he was on the backside?
So the Buckeyes on the move from the 36 back to Weber. There is a flag down as he steps out of a tackle and gets inside the 30. He lost it, but appears Terry McLaurin got back on it.
It's the second time we've seen Mike Weber cough up the football today. Didn't lose the first one. Didn't look like he didn't lose this one either.
Looked like Luke Farrell was moving forward before the snap here. Tight end for Ohio State. See if that's what it is.
Personal foul, illegal helmet contact, hands to the face on the defense, number 96. Half the distance from the end of the run, first down.
It's Carlos Davis, nose tackle. He's really had himself quite the day, but take a look right here. Working against Michael Jordan. Right, you can see that right hand up along the face mask of Michael Jordan. Good catch by the officials.
5 penalties on both sides. First down inside the 15. Weber goes out. J.K. Dobbins comes in. Ohio State trying to take the lead right back. Haskins to Farrell. Mohamed Berry pushed him out of bounds, 2nd and short.
As they inch closer and closer and get down in the red zone, this is just that area where they've struggled. It's been more their inability to run the football, and I think when they've had times to make plays in the passing game, in particular versus Purdue a couple weeks ago, that's what's hurt them most. They haven't made the plays, and there's plays to be made.
Get into a heavy set here. 3 tight ends in the game. And comes straight downhill with Dobbins, who sets up first down and goal for Ohio State.
Talked about the 3 tight ends. One of those extra tight ends is offensive lineman Wyatt Davis, redshirt freshman. A talented 5-star recruit. We're excited about his upside and going to bring some more beef on this offensive line.
Normally wears 52. He's put on 86 for that role today. On 1st and goal, back to Dobbins, back downhill, and in the old Ohio State way, straight ahead for the touchdown and the lead.
And this is exactly what you want to see if you're a Buckeye fan. Just a commanding run, really a full lead, wrapping back their backside tight end to help lead the way as well, moving that line of scrimmage.
Fabio adds the extra point, and the Buckeyes are back in front. J.K. Dobbins with his second touchdown run today. Back to the horseshoe after this. Fox College Football, presented by AT&T Business, is sponsored by the Ford F-Series. Built Ford tough, built Ford proud. A little more fun for Brutus the last few minutes, as J.K. Dobbins gets in for his second touchdown today, and he moves over 2,000 yards for his career. In his long history of Ohio State football, this is the first time they've had two 2,000-yard rushers on the team at the same time, joining Mike Weber. That long run on that touchdown drive, 26-yard run. The first run of more than 21 yards for Ohio State since week 1.
You got to point out it wasn't by design.
No.
That was all Mike Weber creating on his own.
J.D. Spielman signals for the fair catch, and it's into the end zone for a touchback. Good one going here in Columbus. Adrian Martinez and the Huskers back at it. Now time for some football insight with the AT&T Business edge-to-edge zone, where intelligence covers every edge of the field.
Nebraska's very familiar with the triple option, just from shotgun though. Adrian Martinez has the opportunity to give the football, potentially throw it, or keep it. That's what's made this Nebraska offense oh so effective today here in Columbus, Ohio. It's been large part of the zone read down around the goal line for Adrian Martinez. Look at this, he's even got some guys turn around in their feet. A little magician with the football, putting the football in there in the running back's gut and then pulling it.
Trailing for the first time since midway through the second quarter, and they hand it off to Divino Zigbo, who gets popped by Malik Harrison after 5. Divino Zigbo's never run before this season for more than 493 yards in a year. There was a time last year after Trey Bryant got hurt where he was the guy, but never somebody who's been in a role like this. Scott Frost says at this point he's simply a guy they trust. Has gone from the third stringer at the start of the year to the featured back. He's got it again, but has nowhere to go. Up from the secondary, Brendan White to help Haskell Garrett set up third down.
Well, typically you see a little bit more of Maurice Washington. Haven't seen him so much today. Was banged up earlier. That's probably one of the reasons. But third down now. It's a down where you got to think about working to your two big playmakers, J.D. Spielman and Stanley Morgan.
Empty set. Ohio State rushes 4. Martinez out in front of Ozigbo, fourth down. And he had him.
And they've gone to that a number of times. They've motioned out their running backs outside of the formation, trying to match them up versus the Ohio State linebackers. Saw earlier with Maurice Washington for an incompletion as well. They've gone to this a number of times. It just really hasn't worked out for them.
Really the last two drives, a couple of third down plays that they had right there off of Spielman's fingertips on the previous drive, and then this one just too far out ahead of Ozigbo. Armstrong with a knuckling punt that goes out of bounds around the 35. Ohio State leading by 2 with the ball when you come back in 30 seconds. Urban Meyer's Buckeyes lead it by 2. We go down to Bruce Feldman.
Guys, on Monday at Urban Meyer's press conference, he got hit with a bunch of questions about his future and how he looks on the sideline, looking anguished. And he told us, you know what, he got tired of the questions. And so the day later, he came out and said this week that the cause of his headaches that he's been dealing with that are severe headaches, he said it's from a cyst in his brain. He's actually been dealing with it for the last 20 years, but it's gotten a lot worse in the past 2 years. He had a brain surgery in 2014. And it's really been dealing with the pressure. Stress doesn't obviously help it, which we know he's had a lot of this year. And he just said, look, I got no plans to step down, but he wanted to be transparent, and that's why he had the press conference he did, and that's why he talked to us a little bit about it the other day.
Okay, Bruce. Second down and 5 here. Haskins throws for McLaurin, who's defended by DiCaprio Boodle. It'll be 3rd and 5. The most recent public symptoms for Urban Meyer back in early October, when the pain was so bad from the headache that he went down to a knee during the Indiana game on the sideline. And like Bruce said, he wanted to get it out there and then move forward from it.
Yeah, Bruce and I were here for that. And at that moment, we thought he had ran into another assistant, but obviously a lot more came out of that incident.
3rd down 5 for Ohio State. Mario McCall in the game at running back, motions out. They heat up the empty set at an incomplete pass. It didn't look like McCall was ready. And that is a lightning quick 3 and out for Ohio State.
And both teams trading quick 3 and outs, but that was what they call a mesh concept. So you've got one offensive player running up over top of Teague, helping to essentially set a pick for him. And Teague wasn't past that offensive player before he got by, so he wasn't ready for the football.
Drew Chrisman to punt. J.D. Spielman, who took one back 77 yards for a touchdown last week, waiting back for Nebraska. The play clock down to 2, and they don't look ready to snap it. It's going to run out unless they call a timeout, which they
Ohio
did.
State, their first of the half, 30-second timeout.
Man, in a tight game, not a spot you want to burn one of your timeouts. 54-year-old Urban Meyer showing some emotion, showing some frustration. Plenty of emotion over the course of this day as part of his 7th year at Ohio State. 77-9. Remarkably, the worst record that he's ever had here, 11-2. That's the worst season he's had at Ohio State.
Look, I think coming off of the bye, there's a lot of things that they wanted to fix. And if they knew the answers for them, they'd have them fixed by now. But clearly it's leaked into this game so far. It's been sloppy, penalties, turnovers, mistakes, mental errors. I mean, right there you talked about burning an early timeout. Tough Borland, typically a coach on the field as they describe him, wasn't getting everyone set.
Now Chrisman with the punt. Takes good Ohio State bounce. All the way down inside the 10. It'll roll to a stop at the 4. 58-yard effort from Chrisman. Aerial coverage of today's game brought to you by our good neighbors at State Farm. Ohio State in Nebraska. And a day really out of central casting for Big Ten football in November. Low 50s, some sunshine, a little bit of breeze. Perfect.
Perfect football weather. Great environment here in Columbus. When you look at this ball game as Nebraska gets ready to come onto the field. I mean, the difference is really the block punt that went for a safety and Ohio State getting the football back, but it's been the difference for Ohio State's been special teams. That's one of the reasons why they have the lead right now.
So the freshman Martinez backed into his own end zone on 1st and 10. He looks one-on-one, and it gets knocked down by Draymond Jones. He had Stanley Morgan that he wanted working against Damon Arnett.
Well, if you can't get to the quarterback, the next best thing is get your hands up and knock the football down. That's Haskell Garrett.
Yep.
Making a big-time play. Usually when you're in your own end zone, you're going to have quick passes to the outside. You want to risk holding on to the football and potentially taking a sack and a safety.
Spielman, the motion man, on 2nd and 10. Out in front of Spielman, who didn't look ready for the throw. Even if he was, Sean Wade had read it well, and it's 3rd and 10.
It's 2 plays now, though.
You're right.
Spielman. And typically, you don't see that out of him.
And his crowd coming alive for Ohio State.
The pressure's not just on Adrian Martinez to make a good decision here. It's on the Nebraska offensive line having to go up against this pass rush of Ohio State.
They bring only 3. Here's Morgan. Stanley Morgan weaves his way for close, but it doesn't look like he got it. Haskell Garrett came back to hit him. Just shy, unless he got a favorable spot. They did give him enough for a 1st down.
Measurement.
Now they're going to say they want to measure after the official on the far side of the field had waved the sticks already down.
We talked about them only rushing 3. They made it look like they were going to bring a pressure, so a timely call by Nebraska throwing a screen. And even though Ohio State dropped out of it, they weren't in position to really make a play on Morgan. And he looks well short of where we've got the first down marker. Again, you noted it might have been a favorable spot. Wow. That is close.
Do you put any thought at all into going for it?
No chance.
None?
I mean, no, not in this part of the field. I mean, you'd be giving Ohio State at least 3 points if you didn't get it. Maybe potentially worse.
I think he's sending the offense back out there.
This is unbelievable. I mean, this is how they started the game. And this is probably what Scott Frost in his first year as the head coach at Nebraska feels like they have to do right now in order to win this football game.
And they don't go under center.
And they haven't been good on 4th down this year.
Worst in the country.
You gotta love this.
Is it just going to be a hard count trying to get him off? Or are they actually going to do this?
Well, it could be, but do you want to sacrifice? I mean, you could use another timeout in a close game. You don't want to waste those. You could take a penalty, but you don't want to back up any further and give Ohio State potentially good field position.
Martinez does duck under center. 4th down and an inch. Ohio State promptly clogs things up right over the center.
They got to be calling a timeout.
There it is. Ohio State didn't budge, and the punt team will go out.
Will they come back to regret that decision this early in the game? 3rd quarter, 3 minutes left. You only got 1 timeout left. Excuse me, 2. Always difficult to do when you try to run that play and you're trying to basically draw the defense offside, see if you can get a free first down. Never easy when you're on the road. Typically a better play when you're at home. But we've seen Ohio State jump off a number of times today, so why not give it a try?
Third straight punt for Nebraska since taking the lead late in the first half. They're coming after it. This time Armstrong gets it off. Hill with a fair catch at the 47 in Nebraska territory. And now a quick message from Dr. Pepper.
Jam kicks.
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
The Urban Meyer's team, which trailed at the break, has the lead 23-21 inside 3 minutes left in this 3rd quarter and has the ball in Nebraska territory.
We talked about earlier Ohio State not really taking many shots beside the 42-yard touchdown reception to Dixon. Did they take a shot here?
Campbell the motion man. Here's Weber spinning his way into some space and able to break free. Still going. Down to the 10. 38 yards for Weber.
This is all set up by the block by Paris Campbell. He comes across in motion, takes the fake, but he carries on after the spin move from Weber. Look at that. Sealing the edge on Aaron Williams to help Weber get additional yards downfield. It's one of the things that's probably most underappreciated by Ohio State. Their wide receivers blocking in the run game.
First down and goal for the Buckeyes. Campbell again in motion. Weber again with the ball. This time he finds a waiting defender. It was Dedrick Young, four-year starter linebacker, pummeling him. 2nd and goal.
Both Dedrick Young and Mohamed Berry, they're having themselves a day, and what that tells you is the big boys up front, guys like Carlos Davis and Ben Stilley, they're doing their job. They're keeping the offensive linemen from getting up to their level.
But an important task here for them in this defense. Trying to hold Ohio State to a field goal or a touchdown would make it a 2-score game. Late in the 3rd. Campbell on the jet sweep. Paris Campbell, untouched touchdown. It was Isaiah Prince, the captain of that O-line, paving the way for the Ohio State score.
Well, it only takes a sliver of daylight for Paris Campbell to be able to find the end zone. One of the most explosive players in college football.
Takes him only 3 plays to take advantage of the field position. And the lead is back to 9 for the Buckeyes.
Let's go back and take another look. He's going to come across the formation, but keep an eye on this right side. Watch the blocking that they have out in space. He's going to motion across and come back. And then really it's just that seam and the blocking on the outside. Touchdown Buckeyes.
Jeremy Ruckert, freshman tight end, got involved in the blocking as well. A roller coaster of emotions today for both sides.
That's what makes it fun, though.
That's sure right. Yeah, Nebraska scoring first, then Ohio State scored 16 straight. Then Nebraska 14 straight to jump in front. But now the Buckeyes have ripped off 14 in a row themselves. Fair catch taken. And they'll have it at the 25 as we take a look at the Big Ten standings presented by Discover. Be sure to tune into the Big Ten Championship game presented by Discover December 1st on Fox.
Northwestern controls their destiny in the West, and meanwhile Michigan and Ohio State make the case they control their own, as those two teams will square off at the end of the season.
How about what Pat Fitzgerald is doing with the Cats this year?
It's been incredible to see the way they've been able to build the program. Getting a new indoor facility obviously helps. It will help in the future, but they know who they are. They recruit to that, and they're able to find ways of dragging out winning football games.
Martinez looking to throw on first down. He gets pulled down after getting a couple by Jonathan Cooper.
And Martinez was waiting on J.D. Spielman. He had what's called an option route, meaning he can go inside or outside depending on how the defense is playing him. And Spielman was just kind of slow out of the break. It's a few times now we've seen him be a little bit lackadaisical.
Nebraska just 43 yards, 17 plays here in the second half. Trying to get things going again. Here's Ozigbo with a head of steam, setting up 3rd and 1.
Well, when he puts his foot in the ground, he goes north and south as well as anyone. As we see him down on the field, shaking up.
We already know Maurice Washington's been banged up today.
You look at this year for Ozigbo, really jumped into a bigger role once Greg Bell departed Nebraska. Provided a little bit more clarity in the running back room. Ozigbo continued to practice hard, compete. He's been a good leader for this team.
Here's the future, though, huh? Maurice Washington.
I'll be curious to see how healthy he is. Haven't seen a strong dose of him so far in the second half. Saw him a lot early on. But after the one target on 3rd down where he came up a bit shaky, haven't seen him quite as much.
The Bruce reported training staff was looking at his left leg, lower leg. He's the running back on 3rd down and 1. He's got it. It's going to be close. Damon Arnett coming on a corner blitz. Helped to slow him down. With that spot, it's enough for a Husker first down. Four options to the wide side of the field. Martinez scrambling the other direction. And got out of bounds, crossing the 30.
And that's going to be the X factor for the rest of this game, is Martinez taking off when things aren't there in the passing game. He's got the ability to do it. We've obviously seen him in the zone read game, with Zigbo being in question right now and Maurice Washington not looking 100%. He's going to have to become a much bigger part of this offense than we've already seen today.
And he's already the leading rusher at 64 yards today. Closing seconds of this third quarter. They're going to let it run out. And I think if you told Scott Frost and the Huskers that they could be within 9 points of 10th ranked Ohio State going into the fourth with the ball, they would have taken it. Buckle up, fourth quarter coming up from Columbus. Ready for the fourth quarter on Fox College Football, sponsored by AT&T Business. Nebraska entered halftime with the lead, but the third quarter owned by Ohio State, outgaining the Huskers 164-53. 3 drives, 3 punts for Nebraska. Here they've got it 2nd and 7 to open the fourth. Maurice Washington can get back to the line of scrimmage. Malik Harrison was out and usher him out, and it's third down.
Nebraska struggled to find a rhythm in the passing game. Give credit to the Ohio State Buckeyes defense, the job that they've done putting pressure on him as well as in coverage. When you get in 3rd and long, that's where your playmakers have to step up. Someone's got to make a play.
On 3rd and 9, Martinez steps up, thought about going deep, instead pulled it down and then went down. Able to get 4, but it's not enough, and it's 4th down.
It looked like he might have had Jack Stoll on the other side, but down on the bottom it was airtight coverage. Stanley Morgan draped by Damon Arnett, feed him to the post safety, and right there Stoll. It's probably the only guy he had with a little bit of separation. Unfortunately for Martinez, he was working the other side of the field.
Credit to the Ohio State defense for standing up here in the second half. 4 punts on 4 drives. Good hang time on this one. Hill watches it bounce back towards where it came from and finally downed. Just 31 yards for Armstrong. All Ohio State. In this second half, took them a little while to wake up, but they lead it by 9 and have the ball early in the fourth. In that first half, continued to struggle running the ball, just a little better than 3 yards per carry, but they've cranked it up here in the second half, closer to 8 yards per carry.
That's what happens when you keep pecking away at the running game. Those big bodies up front, they wear on you, especially in the second half. And then it's been sometimes just Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins making plays for this offense, finding running lanes and making some things happen. Let's not forget the wide receivers too, though. Paris Campbell, he's special. It's one of the reasons why they incorporate him as part of that run game.
More yards today than the previous 2 games combined. Haskins off his back foot, delivers incomplete. Coverage from Dedrick Young on K.J. Hill. Still a lot of time left.
I think if you're going to take a moral victory away, at least for the Nebraska defense with the way they've played today, and coming into this game, Ohio State averages almost 400 yards passing, 384. They've held Ohio State to a modest gain, 221 through the air for Haskins.
How about just the difference in attack? They threw it 73 times against Purdue, and they've thrown it a little more than 20 today. Short throw, and JoJo Doman playing a good game. His first game at outside linebacker, breaks it up from K.J. Hill.
Well, it's been part because they feel like they have the matchup on guys like J.J. Doman, the outside linebacker, safeties for Nebraska, but also give credit to Lamar Jackson and DiCaprio Bootle, the job they've done on the outside. A lot of press man-to-man coverage. Difficult to get down those timing routes. Sometimes changes the route you're going to run if you're in press man-to-man.
After we talk about Ohio State getting the ground game going here in the second half, they go 3 consecutive throws on this drive and 3 consecutive incompletions as it was underthrown looking for Johnny Dixon. There is a flag down in the backfield, but it appears it's on Ohio State.
It's going to be holding. It's like Luke Gifford was making his way to Haskins.
Holding. Offense number 59. The penalties decline. 4th down.
Just what the Nebraska defense needed.
Credit the pass rush, forcing Haskins to get rid of the football sooner than he wanted to.
I mean, doesn't that seem like a drive, though, where you've been talking about running the ball for 2 weeks, 13-some minutes left, a 2-score lead, where you can assert yourself?
You'd like to. I mean, that's exactly what I think the MO was coming into this game. But, you know, again, that's been some of the inconsistency of Ohio State with some of the scheme and play call.
Fair catch taken by J.D. Spielman. Nebraska not out of it yet.
Walk it like I talk it. Walk it like I talk it. Walk it like I talk it.
Fox College Football is presented by AT&T Business, providing edge-to-edge intelligence. And aerial coverage of today's game is brought to you by our good neighbors at State Farm. Well, Nebraska, which cranked things up in that second quarter to take the lead, has struggled to find any rhythm offensively here in the second half. 4 possessions, Brady, and 4 punts.
They need to find some more explosive plays, too, in this offense. Took advantage of that earlier in this game. Haven't seen it in the second half thus far.
Good sign for them. Divino Zigbo, after leaving with an injury, is back, and he's got it on first down for a gain of 4 or 5. Still plenty of time left. 13 minutes. Ohio State up by 9. Buckeyes trying to bounce back from their first loss of the season against Purdue 2 weeks ago. Still in the playoff picture, ranked number 10. Nebraska trying to pull off a monster upset and get its 3rd straight win after the 0-6 start. They roll Martinez, who looks back and throws behind his intended receiver. That was the tight end Kurt Rafdahl, and it's 3rd and 5.
Love the design of the play, and this is a throw that Martinez has to make easier for Rafdahl. Threw it behind him, didn't need to. Could have put it right on his body because Rafdahl was wide open. Again, playmaking time. You got to step up if you're J.D. Spielman or Stanley Morgan. They've been quiet, in particular, in the second half.
That's Spielman that motion. Morgan to the bottom of the screen and one-on-one. Martinez in trouble, heaves it up out of bounds. Didn't give Morgan a chance, but the O-line didn't give Martinez much either.
Again, credit the Ohio State pass rush. Chase Young was barreling down on Adrian Martinez. And all these different stunts up front, but look at him finding his way after he gets past Matt Farniok. There's not much you can do when you're in those 3rd and must-pass situations, and Nebraska's going to find themselves in that pretty often if they don't find a way of closing this gap.
Martinez, Brady, after his 12 for 16 in the first half, 3 for 9 here in the second. Fair catch for Hill. 12:25 left to go. Ohio State with another chance to churn some clock, leading by 2 scores. A Fox NFL doubleheader tomorrow, starting with the Falcons and the Redskins. And then how about America's game of the week? The unbeaten Rams take on the 6-1 Saints.
Battle for the top spot in the NFC.
A fumble on the first play of this drive that Haskins quickly falls on. Ohio State very well may escape today with a victory to get back on track, but it has not been a pretty day for them. And it has not been the kind of day you want to put forward when you're the 7th one-loss team in the initial playoff rankings. Committee says they watch the games, and while margin of victory doesn't necessarily matter, the way you play certainly does. Flying out of the secondary to deliver a blow is Antonio Reed, crunching Paris Campbell and making it 3rd down.
That's what he brings to this Nebraska secondary. The way he flies up and makes plays on the ball.
Well, he had a quick 3-and-out that ran just 16 seconds off of the clock on Ohio State's previous possession. And well, the clock has kept on running here because they've been running plays. Very quickly, 3rd and 10. Nebraska bringing pressure. Haskins steps into it. Tipped and incomplete. Aaron Williams was the man that got his hand on it. And it is, in fact, back-to-back 3-and-outs for the Buckeyes. Unable to extend the lead. Unable even to shift the field.
And this is a big stop from the Nebraska defense. Being able to get pressure on Dwayne Haskins, force the punt. Get the football back to your offense with enough time back, down by a couple scores, to maybe do something with it.
Line drive punt, fair catch from Spielman. Also Nebraska's defense doing its part, getting the ball back. Now Scott Frost's offense trying to rediscover what it had found in that first half. Adrian Martinez, who's 12 of 16 during the first half, but has gone just 3 of 9 in the second. Trying to lead him from behind. At this point, just trying to pick up a first down. It has been nothing but punts for Nebraska since the break. A fake to Washington. Martinez scrambles. Sets his feet. Got hit as he throws. Down the sideline. Morgan's got it. There's the big play the Huskers were looking for. Delivered by the senior as the freshman stood in against the hit.
And how about the toughness of the true freshman? Steps up, heaves it while getting knocked down by Tyreek Smith. And then Stanley Morgan on the other end going up and making a play right when they needed him to. And this is the part of the Nebraska offense that it's been quiet. We haven't seen as much of Morgan and Spielman, but they've got to get back involved if Nebraska wants to get back in this game.
Biggest play of the day at 46 yards, and now a trick play with Wyatt Mazur running right into Malik Harrison. There is a flag down as well.
You know, it almost looked like they were trying to set up a reverse pass.
Offside. Defense, number 2, 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's a third offside of the day on Ohio State.
That's on Chase Young, but again, it looked like they were trying to set up maybe a reverse pass, and here's Stanley Morgan. They bring the corner off the edge. He's wide open.
Wow.
That's sometimes what happens, though, when you've got a running back there trying to make some decisions throwing the football.
Ultimately, it was a free play. It's first down and 5. Martinez throws it underneath, and a nice open field tackle by a guy who's having a coming out party. Brendan White, only in the game because Jordan Fuller was thrown out for targeting. He's got a team high 10 tackles.
Yeah, that's double what he had coming into the game. Only had 5 on the season, and he's played intermittently, special teams, a little bit of defense. But the sophomore out of Powell, Ohio, he's stepping up in replace of Jordan Fuller.
Second down and 6. Spielman motions out of the backfield. Washington has a seam right side, spinning his way inside the 10, where it's first down and goal for Nebraska.
You know, Zigbo's been solid for Nebraska today, but not having Maurice Washington at 100%, not seeing him as quite as often, it's kind of taken away a little bit from the rushing attack. I mean, he adds a different element, so dynamic when he gets out in space. I think the future's bright for Nebraska. 2 true freshmen like Adrian Martinez and Maurice Washington.
We're both in the game on first and goal. Martinez keeps it. Arnett, the first man there. And Brendan White helped take him out of bounds.
This offense is so much fun to watch. They're just running the football, but as I noted on earlier, they change up who Adrian Martinez's read is. So sometimes it'll be the guy over the center, sometimes the guy over the guard or the tackle. And at any point in time, that guy's unblocked, and all of a sudden he's in space, and he's got to decide if he's going to chase the football or be responsible for the quarterback. That's what makes it so difficult, is any one of those guys can be a part of that read.
Today, Martinez has carried it 20 times for 72 yards. His 20 carries is season high. Play action on second down. Zips one incomplete. Now Zigbo wanted a flag but won't get it.
That's tough, too. And watch as Zigbo sneaks out of the backfield, cuts back across the face. Tough Borland. Just a little bit too much sauce on that one.
3rd down and goal.
And you got to think, too, this is 4-down territory. If you don't get it here, you're going for it on 4th down.
You wouldn't want to just get within a touchdown?
I don't know if you get back close to this.
Straight ahead. And a nice job to slam the door at the 1. Guess who? Brendan White again with Chase Young. And yeah, they got it down to the doorstep. 4th and goal.
The reason I say that too is there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get this football back, and the score is going to be again within 1. So you can kick the field goal here, you can take it easy, but I don't know how many more opportunities they're going to get from the 1-yard line, even if it is on 4th and goal.
Their kicker is a freshman, Barrett Pickering. 7 of 11 this year. Is virtually an extra point. And it brings Nebraska back to within 6. 7:46 to go. Heck of a finish coming up from the shoe. .46 left to go. Ohio State's lead is down to 6 after the Nebraska field goal.
Brutus the Buckeye was probably thankful for a bye week. He's doing a lot of push-ups this year.
Yeah. Johnny Dixon back to return this kick from Caleb Lightbourne. Here comes Dixon from the 4. Yeah, Dixon dropped down to the 17. Time to check in with Sam Farber for a game break.
Joe, next up on Fox, number 13 West Virginia visits number 17 Texas. Mountaineers quarterback Will Grier broke his finger in this game a year ago, had to miss the last 2 weeks of his junior season. He wants revenge. Texas wants a 4th win over a ranked opponent in 2018. Ness Johnson, Joel Klatt, and Jenny Taft will have the call next on Fox.
These two teams part of a 3-way tie in the Big 12 along with Oklahoma. So a big one to follow us here on Fox.
I think the big thing of the Big 12 is Oklahoma, West Virginia still alive if they win the conference, maybe getting into the college football playoff.
Dobbins can't find any room on 1st down. So Ohio State's offense, Brady, which was really the story of that 3rd quarter, now in its last 7 plays has a total of 1 yard.
They got away from the running game. 0 for 4 passing in those 6 plays. Quick possessions. You kind of figured they'd stick with the running game. That's why they started out this drive with it, but unsuccessfully to get much yardage.
Go back to the air here on 2nd down. Dixon comes loose, dances his way for a 1st down.
It's so tough to stop the passing attack for Ohio State, in part because of their wide receivers, the way they separate, their feel for zone coverage, but also for Dwayne Haskins, the way he distributes the football. For a guy in his 1st year starting, he does a good job getting through his progressions and getting the football in the right spot.
Today, Dixon's been his favorite target. 5 catches for 96 yards. They'll look to throw again on 1st down here. All day to scan the field. Now he scrambles, directs traffic, and finds Farrell for a 1st down near midfield.
And what makes that play successful is in part Haskins getting outside the pocket, but Farrell at the very end. Once Haskins escapes, he kind of points him upfield, and then he gives the Nebraska defender the okie doke, and he comes right back to the football for the catch. Look at him. He's telling him to come back. Farrell steps upfield to lose Doman.
Who's the injured player here? It's been injury-riddled career for him. Guy that's played in 13 games as a true freshman, 2016. Then last year had multiple knee surgeries. Missed the whole season. Finally got back from that and then started dealing with back issues. Really excited about what he can be if he can just stay healthy.
He's a versatile player. He allows The Nebraska defense to do a bunch of different things because of his ability to stop the run, but also be pretty good in coverage.
First couple first downs over the last 3 drives for Ohio State. 6:29 to go. 2 timeouts both sides. And a 6-point game. Fake to Dobbins. He swings out. Haskins letting it fly down the field. McLaurin can't pull it in with Boodle providing the coverage, and it's 2nd down.
And these are the plays you got to make if you're McLaurin. And this ball is going to bounce right off his chest. Boodle does a good job getting back to it. Maybe that impacted a little bit. It's the focus and concentration, and maybe a little early. What do you think?
Yeah, you could argue that. DiCaprio Boodle, sophomore out of Miami. On 2nd down, they go back to the ground game with Dobbins. Luke Gifford stops him, and it's 3rd down nearing the 6-minute mark.
And a big 3rd down for the Nebraska defense. And this is where you get off the field, you give your offense another opportunity. The question will be, how do they go about trying to defend this Ohio State offense? Brought a little bit more pressure in the 2nd half. See if they bring pressure here.
Ohio State's so good on 3rd down for much of the year, just 2 for 8 this afternoon.
Looks like Nebraska wants to bring a pressure. Stick with it.
They run it, and very close. Dobbins stopped by Carlos Davis. That's a 1st down.
And this is my concern when you're Nebraska and you've got the ball down on Ohio State's 1 is not being able to get a stop and get Ohio State off the field, and then finding yourself again potentially in a 2-score game as we watch the clock continue to wind down, and another 1st down for Ohio State.
First time they've converted 3rd down today.
Rolling on the field was a 1st down. Plays under further review.
Going to take a look at the spot here.
Very rarely you see these overturned.
Yeah.
Hard to confirm. Let's take another look. The biggest question will be, where's that ball at when his knee hits the ground? Tough to tell from that angle. Whew. I mean, Dobbins did a good job of being able to keep his knee off the ground when he puts his hand down, extending with the football. Always helps too when you're running the football like that close to the yard mark, kind of inch forward thereafter once you get hit.
Right. Sneaky.
Yeah, if you get sneak out, maybe get another foot or something out of it.
I think to your point, though, it's rarely do you see these overturn, and there's not a whole lot there. It'd be hard to change the spot.
After review, the ruling on the field stands is called. 1st down, Ohio State.
So 5:07 to go, and a new set of downs for Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes. J.K. Dobbins has reached 100 yards. Only his 2nd 100-yard game this year, and his 1st one since he ran for 121 against TCU back in week 3. They give it back to him here. Stop and start and explode. There goes J.K. Dobbins for an Ohio State touchdown.
It's that right side of the offensive line for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They love running at their big right tackle, Isaiah Prince. Watch the movement and watch the seam that's created for J.K. Dobbins. And really, it's just a bad run fit by Trey Neal, the safety for Nebraska. Had an opportunity. One gap too wide.
It looks like Ohio State is going to go for 2. Try to make this a 14-point game.
Or if it's going to be a sprint on any time you see them move the ball to a hash. More space on that side of the field.
They bring Hill back into the formation. It's a straight drop. Haskins not initially, and his forward progress stopped. Dobbins with his longest run of the season, a 42-yard touchdown and a 2-score lead for the Buckeyes. J.K. Dobbins adding to his total with 42-yard run, his 3rd rushing score today, and extending the lead back to 12 for Ohio State.
And that's as big of a statement as anything for the Ohio State offense. They came into this game wanting to run the football more, wanting to fix some of those woes. Clearly kind of hanging their hat on that run in the second half so far today.
We knew they'd try to run it. Did you think there was a chance they would run it more than they threw it? Because they have.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we expected, though.
You thought, though, that, I mean, obviously there's going to be more of an emphasis, but they threw it 70-some times against Purdue. That's a huge swing.
Part of that was because of the score, though, and the situation they were in the game. That unfortunately put them in a position where they had to throw the football. But I think you knew Urban Meyer and Ohio State wanted to come in this one and showcase that they could do what they wanted to do.
Fair catch taken. And Nebraska will have it at the 25-yard line. Take a look at our Duracell most trusted player. You would not have called him that before today. Off of the bench, Brendan White with a team-leading 12 tackles.
Coming in for Jordan Fuller, who was ejected in the first half after a targeting call. And maybe he's going to find himself playing more in the secondary. That safety position, not necessarily Jordan Fuller, but opposite of him, Isaiah Pryor. It's kind of been up for grabs. Maybe all of a sudden this makes way for Brendan White getting more involved in the secondary.
4:52 left to go. Still a 2-score game. Martinez dumps off a screen and a lot of room for Maurice Washington. First down to the 45. For more on Brendan White, we go down to Bruce.
Joe, it's a really powerful story. Brendan White's dad, William White, was a great DB here at Ohio State in the late 80s and then played in the NFL for a long time. In 2016, he was diagnosed with ALS, and actually today was the first time Ohio State had been running some PSAs on his behalf, where he had a lot of former Ohio State players making appeals for them. So to see this kid have this great day on this day is pretty special.
Great stuff, Bruce. Martinez hitting Spielman, and a couple of good plays to open this drive.
Martinez creating on that one to find Spielman. He's going to have to do more of that the rest of this drive.
Starts the drive 3 for 3. Mike Williams with a pickup of 6.
2 timeouts, 4 minutes, and running on that clock. But the way Nebraska operates, as fast as they play, it's still plenty of time.
First run play of the drive. Ozigbo with a first down.
Moving forward, this Ohio State defense is going to have to figure some things out, because the interior of their defense has struggled with the inside running game.
Overall today, 420 yards for the Nebraska offense. Underneath toss. The tight end Jack Stoll was split out, and he's got it. A gain of 5. Kendall Sheffield stops him. 3.5 to go. And Nebraska has it at the 25.
They haven't had an issue once they've gotten to this portion of the field. The issue is they've run the football in order to find those touchdowns and scores. And that's where, unfortunately, you need the clock to stop. So you've got to either have an incompletion or something out of bounds.
Back to the ground. Ozigbo. First down inside the 20.
Or first down. That'll stop it momentarily.
2 timeouts for Scott Frost. Remember, the first timeout was used when they tried to draw Ohio State offsides on 4th and short, and the Buckeyes didn't budge. Martinez into the flats. That's Spielman. That's a touchdown. And the Huskers not dead yet. Back to within a score with 2:57 left.
And really, this is just a mismatch. So right here, You're going to see Pete Warren at the top of your screen. He's working on J.D. Smillen. He's got him in zone coverage. And it's the speed and really just the play design that gives him enough space to find the end zone.
How about Adrian Martinez on that drive, hitting all 5 of his throws? And the extra point good. 5-point game with 2:57 left. Nebraska goes 75 yards to get back to within 5.
Do you think about an onside kick? They tried that surprise onside. It was pretty botched at the beginning of the game, but do you lack confidence in being able to run that again or execute it?
What do you think?
Well, I think the tough part is you've got a couple timeouts, so you can stop the clock versus Ohio State. There's, again, enough time if you can work the ball down the field efficiently like that. But I don't know, again, the way Ohio State moved the football that last drive.
Yeah.
It's only going to take a couple first downs to end this football game.
There's got to be some worry about how Ohio State has seemingly started to wear down the Nebraska defense, started to get the ground game going. This is Caleb Lightbourne, who fell while it appeared trying to have a sneaky onside kick on the first kick of the game for Nebraska after they scored to go up 7-0.
That's the only conclusion you can draw from the way he fell, because of the way his foot was coming across, and he didn't slip with his plant leg.
Caleb Lightbourne to kick off for Nebraska.
A pretty traditional approach coming here. So Scott Frost will trust the defense. Fair catch from Dixon. And you got to figure Ohio State will trust the ground game. J.K. Dobbins has been a big part of that so far today, running for 142 yards after he was limited to just 24 against Purdue.
And we saw in the last series with a big run for a touchdown. They're going to need something like that to help seal this game. They really wanted to dictate that they wanted to run the football. Started coming out of halftime. It's continued on here in the fourth quarter. A good sign for the Buckeyes. Look, they're trying to fix some issues that they've got because they want to make a run for a national championship, and they can still do that. You know, you can lose once. You just can't lose twice if you want to try to make a run. They got to win the Big Ten to give themselves a shot.
2:57 left. Dobbins slips the first man and gets 7.
The ball security issues of Mike Weber, too, I think have led to J.K. Dobbins getting more opportunities today. Caught the football up a couple times, didn't lose them. It's maybe one of the other reasons why we've seen a little bit more J.K. Dobbins.
Overall, Ohio State has turned it over 3 times, helping keep Nebraska in this game. Nebraska taking advantage of all of those takeaways.
Kind of wondering why you're not using your timeouts if you're Nebraska here.
2:20 and counting. Can run the game clock down around 2:10 before they snap it. Back to Dobbins. Met in the hole, but kept the legs churning. Dedrick Young hit him in the backfield, but Dobbins still was able to fight his way for a first down. And now, with those 2 timeouts, you got to start using them after this play. Another first down could just about do it.
I mean, the thought is you want to use them as early as possible to conserve as much time as possible to get yourself stops.
Run it down to about 1:30 here. Dobbins again. Another hole for him. Getting 7 more.
And he looks gassed right now. He wants more. He's going to get a little bit more of a break, too.
There's that first time out of this drive, second one total. After the loss against Purdue, Urban Meyer pointed out a few glaring weaknesses. We've talked about the run game all day, the issues in the red zone. Defensively, the big plays that they had allowed. They gave up 2 plays of 30+ today. That's still 2 more than they'd like. But as far as getting the ground game going, check. And in 4 trips into the red zone, after they went 0 for 5 at Purdue, they've got 3 touchdowns.
And the biggest thing is the touchdown percentage. They're around 50% on the season, just kind of struggling, and it's been in part because of the lack of a run game. They seem to have gotten that going now. So the biggest question is going to be the passing game. And it's kind of, I don't want to say taking a hit, but maybe a little bit of a step back compared to what it's been. So one big play from Johnny Dixon earlier. They're going to have to maintain their ability to still hurt some teams on the outside.
Second down and 3. Dobbins surges forward and lunging towards the first down marker. He says that he's got it. And then has a message for Aaron Williams. And they did give him enough. In just a few moments, we'll take those of you in West Virginia and Texas to the start of the out near Longhorn game. For the rest of you, we'll get you out to Austin at the conclusion of this one. Can also be seen on FS2.
Ruling on the field to first down. Plays under further review.
They're going to check the spot here. The initial spot has Dobbins with enough for a first down, which would all but seal it. Seen quite a few spots challenged today.
That's been one of those games, you know, where we're checking a lot of spots.
One of them. Actually, it was a pretty choppy first half, a lot of penalties, but both teams have calmed the penalties down in the second half. Take a look.
Dobbins stays so low to the ground, and I think it's the way he dives forward. He's able to maintain kind of a flat body position, so it keeps his knee off the ground. And remember, an elbow forearm touching down would, that touchdown first would be constituted as him being down. Another one that will be close,
but just not enough.
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult to overturn these unless it's just, again, egregious, and it's, you know, a yard difference, and there was just something that was missed. For Ohio State, though, talked about that checklist of things they want to improve upon. They've got it going in the right direction now. It's not an easy road ahead, though.
After review, the ruling of the first down stands. First down.
Well, we talk about them being the 7th one-loss team in the rankings at this point. Part of that is they only have one win against a team with a winning record at this point. That was Penn State. Now, the final 3 games of the season, like you're talking about, are all going to be against teams better than 500, beginning next week at Michigan State.
Never easy winning in East Lansing. You go back-to-back games on the road. You got to go play Maryland. That's, you know, dealing with a lot of turmoil. But you saw in week 1, they've got some athleticism. They got some playmakers. And obviously Michigan. You know, as they say in Columbus, Ohio, that team up north, that's going to be a battle I think everyone's going to want to watch. Could be more excited to see, obviously on Fox too. So excited for Joel and Gus and those guys getting to call that big matchup. It'll largely determine the team that has the best chance from the Big Ten of making the college football playoff.
Nebraska still has that one timeout, but it appears Scott Frost will let it run out. As far as the Huskers go, at 2-6, you're not above taking silver linings, and there's a great silver lining to take out of this game when you're looking at the progress of the program, and he is going to use his final timeout here. When you're looking at trying to rebuild this program after the 0-6 start, they went back-to-back games and really show well today against Ohio State.
They've got the pieces in place. You've got your quarterback in Adrian Martinez. He's been phenomenal as a true freshman, maybe better than they expected. Maurice Washington, he's a player I think you can hang your hat on in the run game. You look outside, J.D. Spielman, he's going to be back. You know, you lose a guy like Stanley Morgan, but you know, you've got pieces there. And then on defense, that's going to be the biggest undertaking because they're changing scheme. And as we talked to the staff, they talked about having to recruit guys who fit more of what they want to do. You know, they don't have a true 5 technique guy who embodies the size and physicality of what they need, mixed with the guy who's accustomed to playing that sort of technique. So recruiting is going to be crucial for Scott Frost and Nebraska moving forward.
And the Buckeyes accomplish the bottom line mission of getting a win and getting back on track after their first loss. They're set to move to 8-1 on the season. Still plenty of work to do for Urban Meyer and the Buckeyes if they want to reach college football playoff. But today they avoid the upset. They trailed at halftime. They dominate the third quarter and hang on 36-31. So Urban Meyer stays unbeaten at Ohio State following a bye. Unbeaten following a loss during the regular season. This one a little bit closer than usual following a loss, but a win nonetheless. 36-31 the final score. We'll get you out to Austin for West Virginia and Texas right after these messages.